See.
Der Fenway Park in Boston. Nach einem wilden Ritt durch die Playoffs ist er zum ersten Mal seit 18 Jahren wieder Austragungsort für eine World Series. Keiner kann es mehr hören. 1918. Seitdem immer knapp vorbei, gescheitert und immer die Hoffnung auf das nächste Jahr. Doch nicht mit diesem Team. Mit dem Rücken zur Wand wollten sie einfach nicht mehr verlieren. 4 Spiele in Folge gewinnen? Kein Problem. Der Fluch des Bambino? Vergiss es. Das größte Comeback aller Zeiten? Genau so ist es. Die Cardinals hatten bisher eine perfekte Saison. 112 Siege, die letzten 2 davon in kritischen Momenten. Dieses Team wird vor allem von 3 Schlagmännern angetrieben. Albert Pujols, Scott Rowland und Jim Edmonds. Sind sie das beste Schlagtrio aller Zeiten? Vielleicht. Sind sie bereit, um die Trophäe nach St. Louis zu bringen? Absolut.
Williams, he went 11-8 during the regular season, and Sudden, he has been the Cardinals' best postseason pitcher.
Well, he's also started Game 1 in each of the postseason series, and more importantly than that, for Tony La Russa's team, he has won Game 1. He's a guy who has to locate. He has to stay on the corners. He cannot get people out if he's in the middle of home plate. But he's a guy that most of the time will stay away from the big inning. And if you do that, you put the ball in play with their defense and their offense, you win a lot of games.
Williams did not allow a runner past second base in Game 5 in the league championship against Houston, despite straining a calf muscle running to cover first base. He's a former Toronto Blue Jay, so he's used to pitching inside Fenway Park. He talks about his big Game 1 start of the World Series here.
Well, the way these guys are hitting in this ballpark, it's amazing that, you know, how far they hit the ball over that wall. It's just from the time I got in the league to how strong the guys are up and down the lineup now. Hopefully the balls will bounce off the wall and be able to make a good play and keep them to a single. But you know, I know it's a big home field advantage, but at the same time I got to go out there and do the things that I'm good at doing. No, by no means do I try to change. I've got to do what I can do and stick with my strengths and not worry about the surroundings.
Well, that's the essence of Woody Williams. He is such a level-headed pitcher and a great leader for their team. Rick, now the rest of the rotations as we look at games 2 through 4 for St. Louis and Boston.
To me, as you look at it, you can tell why the Boston Red Sox are favored in this series. They have Curt Schilling. He is a World Series proven successful pitcher in Game 2. You come back with Pedro Martinez. He's been in the National League with Montreal. He knows how to handle the bat. And then in Game 4, how about Derek Lowe and how his stock has risen? He was a guy who was banished to the bullpen earlier in the postseason. He will oppose Jeff Suppan, who won the big Game 7 against Roger Clemens, bringing the St. Louis Cardinals here to Boston.
If necessary, Game 6 and 7 will be right back here at Fenway Park. Remember, the Boston Red Sox had the second-best home record in the major leagues over the 2004 regular season.
I think really the saddest part about this, though, is that the #1 pitcher all year long for the St. Louis Cardinals was Chris Carpenter, and he is not able to pitch because of a strained bicep in his throwing arm.
Well, as mentioned, it's a cold night here in October. But the fans in Boston could care less. For the first time since 1986, they get a chance to see their beloved Red Sox in a World Series. Game #1 coming your way shortly. Woody Williams and Tim Wakefield on the hill tonight. Right now, for the start of our pregame ceremonies, let's toss it to Carl Bean, the public address announcer at Fenway Park.
Leading off, the shortstop,
Edgar Renteria. Batting second, the right fielder, Larry Walker. Batting third, the first baseman, Albert Pujols. Batting fourth, the third baseman, Scott Rowland. Batting fifth, the center fielder, Jim Edmonds. Batting sixth, the designated hitter, Reggie Sanders. Batting seventh, the second baseman, Tony Womack. Batting eighth, in the bullpen, the catcher, Mike Matheny. Batting ninth, the left fielder, So Taguchi. Warming up in the bullpen, tonight's starting pitcher, Woody Williams.
The one guy went to the left.
And now the team who rewrote the history books by defying the odds and becoming the first team in Major League Baseball history to win a best-of-7 postseason series after trailing 3-0. Making their 10th World Series appearance, please welcome the 2004 American League champion, the Boston Red Sox. First, the Red Sox staff and coaches. The Bat Boys, Andrew Crosby and Chris Cundiff. Traveling Secretary, Jack McCormick. Clubhouse staff, Joe Cochran, Pookie Jackson, Tommy McLaughlin. Trainers, Jim Rowe, Chris Parenti, Chang Ho Lee. Coaches, Brad Mills, Ron Jackson, Lynn Jones, Dale Swain. In the bullpen, coaches, Dave Wallace, Yuki Rojas. Bullpen catcher, Dana Lavangi. Please welcome a veteran of the 1946 World Series, the one and only Johnny Pesky. A special welcome back to Tony Flanagan, Bill Hasselman, Eno Guerrero. And now the Red Sox reserves. Pokey Reese, David McCarty. Doug Menkiewicz. Ricky Gutierrez. Gabe Kapler. Kevin Youkilis. Ellis Burks. Ramiro Mendoza. Keith Folk. Curtis Laskanik. Dave Roberts. Derek Lowe. Jason Baratek. Mike Myers. Adam Heisdu. Kurt Schilling. Alan Embry. Pedro Martinez. Mike Timlin. Terry Adams. Lenny Donardo. Sandy Martinez. Bronson Arroyo. We now welcome Red Sox manager Terry Francona. And here is the starting lineup for tonight. Leading off, the center fielder, Johnny Damon. Batting second, the shortstop, Orlando Cabrera. Hitting third, the left fielder, Manny Ramirez. Batting cleanup, the designated hitter, David Ortiz. Batting fifth, the first baseman, Kevin Millar. Batting sixth, the right fielder, Trot Nixon. Batting seventh, the third baseman, Bill Miller. Batting eighth in the bullpen, catcher Doug Mirabelli. Hitting ninth, the second baseman, Mark Bellhorn. Pitching for the Red Sox tonight, warming up in the bullpen, Tim Wakefield. Ladies and gentlemen, your 2004 Boston Red Sox, champions of the American League. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise as we welcome the Air Force Junior ROTC of Lowell High School in Lowell, Massachusetts, who are presenting the colors tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, all of us were terribly saddened by the loss of one of our fans while she was joyously celebrating her beloved Red Sox victory Wednesday night. As we extend our deepest sympathies to her family and friends, won't you please join us in a moment of silence in memory of East Bridgewater native and Emerson College student, 21-year-old Victoria Torrey Snellgrove. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for our national anthem, which will be followed by a flyover of F-16 jets by the Green Mountain Boys, the Vermont Air National Guard. We now welcome the rock and roll legend whose spirit and energy are as strong today as when he started performing 30 years ago with his band Aerosmith. Here to present the Star-Spangled Banner, please welcome Boston's own Steven Tyler.
Well, oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail as the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare as bombs bursting in air get proof through the night that our flare was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet grave on the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you, Steven Tyler, for that rockin' rendition.
Throughout the series, we're going to bring you back to some of the great World Series of all time. Tonight, we highlight the year 1956 and that season's October Classic, year 1956. The year was 1956. And in the news, Elvis Presley becomes a headline performer. He's Grace Kelly. And the first transatlantic telephone cable system is laid. On the diamond, baseball establishes the Cy Young Award for the best pitcher in the majors. Stan Musial is voted Player of the Decade by the Sporting News. Joe DiMaggio and Ted Williams are runners-up. And Mickey Mantle wins the Triple Crown with a batting average of .352, 52 homers, and 130 runs batted in. The World Series is the Brooklyn Dodgers against the New York Yankees. Game 1 featured a rematch of the '55 series as the Yankees took on the Brooklyn Dodgers. It was the 6th meeting of these two teams, Brooklyn winning Game 1 on home runs by Gil Hodges and Jackie Robinson. The Dodgers continued their winning ways in Game 2 by rolling over the Yankees 13-8. The game featured Duke Snider's 3-run homer for the Dodgers and Yogi Berra hitting a grand slam for the New York Yankees. Whitey Ford pitches the Yankees to a Game 3 victory as the Yankees win by a final of 5-3. Eno Slaughter has a 3-run homer in the 6th inning. And Billy Martin also delivers a solo shot in the Yankee win. Game 4 allowed the Yankees to tie the series. Tom Sturdivant went on to pitch a 6-hitter as Mickey Mantle and Hank Bauer each homered for the Yankees. Game 5 will be remembered for a classic baseball moment as Don Larson pitches a perfect game. This is the first and only no-hitter in World Series history. As Yankee Stadium erupts, Yogi Berra leaps into Larson's arms. The excitement of Game 5 was over quickly as the Dodgers win 1-0 in extra innings to force a Game 7. Eno Slaughter misjudging a Jackie Robinson 2-out fly ball that turns into the game-winning hit. Yankee bats assert themselves in Game 7 as Yogi Berra hits a pair of 2-run homers. Elston Howard and Bill Skowron also homer as the Yankees go on to win the World Series. Berra finishing the series with a .360 average, 3 homers, and 10 runs batted in. The best of 1956 in the American League, Mickey Mantle, Rick Sutcliffe with 52 home runs. Herb Score led the Cleveland Indians with 263 strikeouts.
Boy, it's just so much fun to look back at the wonderful history of the great game of baseball. Some of the all-time great names right there. The MVP, Mickey Mantle. And you go over to the National League in 1956. Duke Snider with 43 home runs. Don Newcomb, the Cy Young Award. And how about Frank Robinson as the Rookie of the Year?
Would later win MVPs in both leagues. Frank Robinson, a tremendous talent. Well, that was all in black and white. We're back in color and a whole lot of red for Game 1 of the 2004 World Series between the Boston Red Sox, the champs of the American League, and the St. Louis Cardinals, the champions of the National League. Capacity 35,000 plus for Game 1 of the World Series. That means the Red Sox will play Games 6 and 7 as long as it goes that long, and Games 1 and 2 as well. We flash back to the All-Star game in Houston, and so this is the reason why the Red Sox have home field advantage.
Roger Clemens on the mound, pitching in his hometown. That was a home run to Manny Ramirez in the very first inning, and then Manny Ramirez took himself out of the game so that his buddy could get a couple of at-bats. David Ortiz also with a big homer in that rout by the American League.
And because the American League won the World Series home field advantage, goes to the American League here in 2004. So the Red Sox could host as many as 4 games of this series against the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cardinals beating the Dodgers 3-1 in the division series. Houston in 7 to get here. Here's a look at the starting lineup of the St. Louis team, brought to you by MasterCard. Edgar Renteria leads things off. He is from Colombia. Larry Walker from Canada is in right field, followed by one of the best young hitters in the game.
If it weren't for Barry Bonds, he would have just won, in my opinion, his 3rd consecutive National League MVP. He did win the MVP of the National League Championship Series at 24 years of age. What a talent, Albert Pujols.
He's followed by Scott Rowland, who's had pretty much a chilly bat in the postseason so far. Jim Edmonds in center, Reggie Sanders the DH. Tony Womack is at second base, followed by the Gold Glover Mike Matheny behind the plate, and So Taguchi from Japan is in left field. They will all hit against the knuckleballer Tim Wakefield. 12-10 during the regular season. It's a sweet turnabout for Wakefield, who last October was told he would be the Game 1 World Series starter against Florida. He never got the chance because he gave up the home run to Aaron Boone in the 7th game of the league championship loss to the Yankees.
And even Joe Torre, after the devastating comeback by the Boston Red Sox, said that he was happy for a guy like Tim Wakefield to have an opportunity to go through what he has gone through the past year after giving up that home run to Aaron Boone. I mean, this is a tremendous opportunity for Tim Wakefield. He's never pitched in a World Series game. It's his first start of the 04 postseason.
He is the longest tenured member of the current Red Sox. He served every role: starter, closer, long relief, emergency starter. And here he is tonight, towing the slab for Game 1 of the World Series. Renteria in the postseason hitting .257. He batted 30 points higher than that during the regular season. He's followed by Larry Walker and then the amazing Albert Pujols. Temperatures in the 40s as we get underway. The wind is blowing stiff in from center field. That could be a factor on Wakefield's knuckleball. And here we go. The first pitch is in there for strike 1, and we're underway. What? Everybody wants to get a good picture of the first pitch, and the second pitch is fouled away at the plate to make it 0-2.
I think that's a huge advantage for the pitcher with all of those flash bulbs going off. There's no way a guy can pick up a baseball to try to swing at the first pitch.
(0-2) on the St. Louis leadoff hitter. And it's downstairs. And so when you're talking about the wind, Terry Francona told us before the game he really didn't want to see the wind at Wakefield's back. What does it do to the knuckleball? As you get a look at the temperatures, it is a cold one. Well, it didn't do a whole lot there to bother Wakefield. He strikes out Renteria. Now defensively, a look at the Boston Red Sox for Game 1.
Doug Marabelli, catcher, USA.
Kevin Millar, first base, USA.
Mark Bellhorn, second base, United States.
Bill Miller, third base, United States of America.
Orlando Cabrera, shortstop, Colombia.
Manny Ramirez, left field, and I'm from Dominican Republic.
Johnny Damon, center field, USA.
Damon in center, and Trot Nixon over there in right field for the Red Sox. Larry Walker, the hitter, and a count on him, 0-1. Walker in his 16th major league season. This is his first trip to the World Series. But back to the elements, Rick, and how they may play a role on Wakefield and how he may throw tonight.
I just think the biggest problem is the fact that with the wind blowing behind him, it pushes the ball towards home plate rather than pushing against it, creating more rotation and more movement. Another thing with Wakefield, you know, he has not had a start in 22 days. You get that wind behind him, it mechanically can push him towards home plate, creating control problems.
He just zipped in a fastball there on Larry Walker, fooled him a bit. The count 2-2. Interesting listening to Tony La Russa, though, talk about the knuckleball. He said, I like it. I like the idea of a change of pace, something we haven't seen in a while. I'm not sure his hitters would agree with that, but La Russa thought it was kind of a cool idea.
And to me, hitting off of knuckleball, the best explanation that I've got for it is that it's like playing slow pitch softball. And like Tony La Russa said, you're just basically having a night where you go up there, and if you see something high, you let it fly.
Foul back by Walker. Larry Walker acquired in a Trade deadline deal from Colorado. Kind of a stunning move.
You can see the grip here. It's not actually held with the knuckles. It's held with the fingertips. And Wakefield really struggling at the end of the year. Got help from a former knuckleball pitcher, Charlie Huff. He was flown in here to Boston to work with him. They obviously found something.
Big hack, but a foul away by Walker. And all the knuckleball guys wear the same number. It's the number of the brotherhood, the number 49. Boyd Wilhelm wore that.
Charlie Huff wore that
number.
Candiotti.
Yep.
Another thing is they can pitch until they're 49 years old if they choose to.
Wakefield 38. Just missed. Ed Montague, the home plate umpire tonight.
Well, Wakefield thought he caught the knees here on the inside corner. Mirabelli, boy, what a good job he does. I mean, you know, a lot of people just try to defend against the knuckleball. He's like snatching it up there. There's a real comfort zone between these two guys.
Mirabelli catching all of Wakefield's starts. He's caught almost every inning over the last few years. Jason Varitek, the regular Red Sox catcher, sitting tonight. He says, I have absolutely no problem with that. That's the way we do things around here. Here's the 10th pitch of the at-bat, and it's ripped down into the corner. That's going to be a fair ball. It rattles right to Nixon, but it'll be 2 bases for Walker. He just had a tremendous at-bat for 2 bases with 1 out here in the first inning.
He's won batting titles in the past. He gets a pitch out over the plate, just barely able to keep it fair down the right field line. Catching that corner off the wall, and look at Trot Nixon positioned perfectly. I think that can really be a big key in these first 2 ball games, Dave, is how well the Boston Red Sox play defensively in the outfield and how possibly the St. Louis Cardinals could struggle because of all of the little nooks and crannies that Fenway Park represents.
Here's another reason the Red Sox could struggle. He's in the batter's box. Albert Pujols taking inside ball 1. Pujols, born in Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. He is the best hitter in this series. And that's saying a lot, considering a former MVP and batting champ Larry Walker is out there at second base now. The Red Sox have batting champs in Manny Ramirez and Bill Miller. Knocked down at the plate by Mirabelli. You've also got the red-hot David Ortiz. But Pujols is the biggest star in a star-laden lineup for the Cardinals.
I'm not kidding you. I thought I saw the green monster trying to move back as Pujols took BP tonight.
Yeah, one shot after another. You're right. He may knock it down himself. Fouled back. He took a healthy rip.
Start off with some keys to this series. You take a look, the top 2 teams in run differential. That means the number of runs scored as opposed to the number of runs that they allowed. The top 2 teams in all of baseball. A defensive mistake, misplaying a ball off the wall. They're so evenly matched, Dave. I think that could be the key to this series when it's over.
Walker leading his second with 1 down. Popped up right at the second baseman Bellhorn, and he is there to haul it in. And Albert Pujols with a quiet first AB in his first World Series, and there are 2 gone.
Yeah, but there's nothing quiet about this St. Louis Cardinal lineup because they come right back at you again with another guy who drove in 100 runs this year. And if they're not able to get rolling now, the guy behind him, too, Jim Edmonds with 111 RBIs.
Well, that's right. They come at you in waves. Pujols 123 RBIs, Rolen 124, Edmonds 111. And here's Scott Rolen, a 5-time Gold Glover. Swings immediately and pops it up into foul territory. Miller is there waiting on it. He's got it. And that's all for St. Louis. A double by Larry Walker. Nothing comes of that. So after a half inning here at Fenway Park in Boston, the Cardinals go quietly, and the Red Sox are coming up to face Woody Williams. Johnny Damon after his Game 7 heroics in the league championship against the Yankees when he hit 2 home runs. A look at the Boston Red Sox lineup. It's brought to you by MasterCard. Johnny Damon followed by Orlando Cabrera and Manny Ramirez in left. The DH, David Ortiz.
In the 10 postseason games that the Boston Red Sox have played, he has hit safely in 9 of them. The big man with an opportunity to DH here at home. He will have to play first base defensively, though, in the National League ballpark.
The Red Sox battling right-hander Woody Williams, and the 38-year-old's first pitch of the ball game is up and away. 1-0 on Damon.
Woody Williams is a guy that would not scout very well. I mean, if you put him in a tryout camp, you wouldn't see anything that would really impress you to sign him to a contract. But when you put him on the mound in a big league uniform, nobody competes any harder or better than the right-hander for St. Louis.
Very highly respected by the men who play with and against Woody Williams. I think that can also be said about Tim Wakefield. Williams a real leader, not just on the mound, but everywhere else too.
It's his team. I mean, if you took a vote, there would be 20 of the 24 other guys that voted that Woody Williams is the true leader in that clubhouse. He does it in a lot of different ways.
A 6-footer out of Houston, Texas, delivers down and in on Damon. Now, Damon slumped badly through the first 6 games of the league championship against the Yankees, and then he became Babe Ruth in Game 7. He hit 2 homers, a grand slam, and a record 6 runs batted in. Fouled off to the right. And now the shoes he wore in Game 7 are about to be auctioned off to benefit a local children's hospital here in Boston. After the first 3 games, he was 1 for 13, 2 for 24 after Game 5. You could have gotten those shoes for nothing. 2-2 pitch misses the inside corner, and it's all filled up on the leadoff hitter.
Boston was waiting for Johnny to be good, and he went from awful to awesome in a hurry in Game 7.
Cabrera on deck, and the payoff pitch got a piece of it. The Red Sox making their first trip to the World Series since 1986. They lost that year in 7 games to the New York Mets, and they have lost twice to St. Louis in the World Series. But Boston actually has a winning all-time record in the series. They've gone 5-4 in October Classics.
2 times that they lost to the St. Louis Cardinals, 1946 and again in 1967. St. Louis won both of those decisive Game 7s, and after these 2 teams going to 7 games to get here, you got to feel like we're going to be here for 7 again.
High fly but foul off to the right. And some notes as we look back at the 1946 and 67 Red Sox Cardinals series. Ted Williams had a brutal series in 46. He hit just 200. He never heard the end of it. Carl Yastrzemski, though, 400 in the 67 World Series. But Bob Gibson was incredible. 3-0 with an ERA of 1, including not only winning Game 7, but he hit a home run in that game. Lunging, that one's down the line, and a fair ball. It'll roll on the track down into the corner, and Damon has a walk-in double leading off for the Red Sox.
That is Johnny Damon. A 10-pitch at bat, being patient, finally getting a ball that he could handle. The ball was elevated just enough to where he could get it over the head of Scott Rowland down into that corner, and he continues to stay hot. He got a couple of good pitches to hit in that Game 7 against the Yankees. Every pitch Woody Williams threw in that at bat was on one corner or the other, but still Damon finding a way to get on.
So both sides with a first inning double. Larry Walker was stranded after his 2-base hit for St. Louis. We'll see what the Red Sox do with Damon's 2-bagger. And it's a bunt, fouled away as it rolls off the chalk line. So an interesting way of going about it for Terry Francona. He decides to bunt Damon over to third base and play for the early run.
One thing too about the Boston Red Sox that we learned in the 7 games against the New York Yankees, sometimes these guys just do things on their own. I mean, it could have been a sacrifice bunt. That might have just been Cabrera saying, hey, you know, Manny, I'm going to hand you this RBI.
Well, he showed bunt again, and that's in there for a strike, and the count quickly 0-2, and there goes the bunt. He won't be doing it here with 2 strikes on him. Manny Ramirez up next.
You can think back to Johnny Damon and Mark Bellhorn trying to get down sacrifice bunts. Neither one of them was able to be successful at that. You let bunters bunt, you let hitters hit. I think it's time for Cabrera to swing the bat.
hit .294 during the regular season and would not chase the pitch outside. Cabrera, 29-year-old from Cartagena, Colombia. Both of the shortstops in this series are Gold Glovers from Colombia. Edgar Renteria for St. Louis, who has appeared in a World Series, starred in a World Series back in 1997. They're also both free agents at the end of the year. Oh, that hit him. Knocked him down. Where did it get him?
In the face.
Goodness gracious. Eddie Montague leaning over to see if he's okay. And Cabrera is rising up on a knee. Oh, I hope I heard some helmet. Cabrera drilled, and the Red Sox will have runners at first and second. Well, in a cold night like this, it's difficult for a pitcher, even a great command guy like Woody Williams, to get a proper grip on the baseball, and that one slipped.
And it's so hard for a right-handed hitter against Woody Williams to know when to bail and when to stay in there. His best pitch, his out pitch, is a big, hard overhand curveball. Right there, Cabrera did not want to give up on that pitch, and he stayed in there just a split second too long. Take a look at it one more time. It looked like it might have possibly grazed his shoulder, and then it caught him in the chin. He checks his mouth right away. I mean, you're also getting a toughness check on the part of Cabrera here. Well, I mean, this is, I mean, he's not coming out of that ballgame.
We're going to listen in. You can see he has a little cut there on the chin, but listen to the sound of it.
All of you young hitters out there, you have to learn to turn away from the baseball as Cabrera did there. If he would not have turned away, he probably would not be in this ball game right now.
So Cabrera takes his base, and Manny Ramirez is the hitter, as La Russa is trying to get somebody's attention to come on in.
I've even seen high schools, Dave, practice that drill right there with tennis balls. You have the coach throw tennis balls at the guys to teach them to turn away, not only to soften the blow, but possibly at times use that ear flap that hangs over the inside ear that faces the pitcher.
Yeah, you'll either get good at that or you'll become Andre Agassi. And here's Manny Ramirez as he takes inside for ball one. Woody not afraid to come right back in on a hitter after nailing a guy.
When they talk about no fear, I mean, they could put Woody Williams' picture right beside that.
Manny Ramirez incredibly did not drive in a run in 7 games against the Yankees in the League Championship Series. But in his first at bat in the World Series, he has an opportunity. 2-0. Now Ramirez did drive in 7 runs against the Angels in the first round.
We talked about the 10-pitch at bat for Johnny Damon. On a night like this, Dave, the longer you stay out there, the less feel you're going to have on that baseball. You continue, as the defense does for St. Louis, just to get colder and colder and colder, and that makes it tougher on a pitcher.
A double, a hit batsman, and Williams is in trouble. Rocketed to right field, sailing for the corner. Walker on the run near the stands makes a tremendous play. Damon tags up, he advances into third, but the defensive play of the early part of the series has just been turned in by the Gold Glover Larry Walker, with the stand sneaking up on him in a hurry. He made a wonderful basket catch and then banged up against that fence.
I know percentage-wise, the Los Angeles Dodgers rated higher than the St. Louis Cardinals defensively during the regular season. But to me, this might be the best defensive team that I have ever seen, being the St. Louis Cardinals. This is as good a play as you're ever going to find, particularly for a guy not familiar with Fenway. We saw Edmonds dive on a ball in Game 7, hit by Brad Ausmus. You're going to see Renteria, you're going to see Rowland make terrific plays as well before this series is decided.
And I'm sure down the line, as Manny is denied, the Red Sox faithful were quiet as church mice. They did nothing to disrupt the concentration of Larry Walker. That's just a spectacular play.
And Cabrera at first base had to respect the arm of Larry Walker, not able to get to second to advance another base as Damon did. So the double play is in order right now. You get a ground ball at somebody, the Red Sox will not score.
Ortiz, the American League Championship Series MVP, swings and drives this one. Hooked toward the foul pole. Is it fair or foul? It is gone. It's a home run for David Ortiz. Senor Octubre. That's what they're calling him here in Boston. Mr. October has struck again.
Well, he was Mr. 2004. 33 times during the regular season, he gave the Boston Red Sox the lead. Well, this time, he gives them a huge lead. One swing of the bat, an opportunity to get out of the inning. All of a sudden, the baseball got out of the park.
And the Red Sox take the lead, and here's Millar knocking one deep to left. That's off the Green Monster. He wants a double, and he's into second with 2.
They tried to go down and in. You could see the little cut fastball. He was able to bring his hands in, able to keep that ball fair. He took a good look at it. He thought it might hook foul. Charlie Relaford, the right field umpire, getting a good look at it. Nobody arguing about it. It goes right over the top of the foul pole, and this crowd continues to get loud.
Well, Tony La Russa said about Ortiz, he's such a tough out. It looks like guys rally around him, and he is the central focus of their offense. Boston with 3 hits, 2 doubles, and now a 3-run homer. That brings up Trot Nixon. Only 1 out, and he takes inside for a ball.
Here's a guy offensively that has been real quiet during the postseason. Getting Trot Nixon back off the disabled list was almost like making a big trade right there at the All-Star break, right before the trading deadline.
Nixon really hasn't done a whole lot in the playoffs so far. He flies this one to right, backing up Walker short of the track now. And he's got it. Millar to tag up. Long throw into third. Will not get him. Offline. 2 down. So Millar able to tag up and move up 90 feet. And now comes the number 7 hitter, Bill Miller.
This ball was hit almost to the warning track. Walker circling it, getting in position to make that throw. And the reason is because he knows who's at second base. Kevin Millar, not one of the faster runners. And you could see there Scott Rowland had to shield his eyes because of the light standard from where that baseball came over the shoulder of Larry Walker.
The Red Sox are tattooing Woody Williams. Millar's ball, had the wind not been blowing in, is gone. That also would have been a home run. And Nixon just took Larry Walker almost to the warning track.
That's a great point, Dave, because I think too Manny Ramirez's ball would have gone out without this steady breeze blowing in.
Yep, I think you're right. Miller checks his swing. He's had some experience against Woody Williams, although he's not really fond of it. 1 out of 12. Tony La Russa, on this day in 1995, he was signed to manage the St. Louis Cardinals. And here he is tonight managing them in the World Series, but down by 3. Ground ball, that's fair. Inside third, down the line, that brings in another run. Millar is in. The Red Sox lead it 4-0.
Just look at how they're doing it as well. The big power hitters are pulling the baseball. The contact guys are simply looking out over the plate and going with it. Johnny Damon slapped a double down the line. Here's Bill Miller with a ground ball down the line. Taguchi with a nice play to hold him to a single. Look at him. I mean, that's the plan of approach is to take him to the opposite field for the littler guys. The big guys look for something middle in and turn on it.
So the Red Sox, who had only 1 hit in the first 6 innings in the first 2 games against the Yankees, are off to a blazing start tonight in Game 1.
So difficult right now for Woody Williams to grip that baseball. He'd like to throw that good sharp curveball, but if you can't feel it, then you can't simply throw it.
The good fans at Fenway have been waiting 86 years for this kind of a Game 1 explosion. And they are certainly ready to roar. Doug Marabelli, the hitter. The 100th World Series in Major League history. And I think highly appropriate, the two participants are from the two most passionate baseball cities in America, Boston and St. Louis.
I don't know if there's any fans in baseball that know more about the game than in those two cities that you talked about. They appreciate good play on both sides of the field.
Swing and a miss for strike 3, and Marabelli is the third and final out of the first inning. But against Woody Williams, the Red Sox explode. They score 4 runs on 4 hits, and David Ortiz becomes the 28th player in Major League history to homer in his first World Series at bat. 4-0 Boston. Wow, what a start, huh? Major League Baseball International special presentation of the 2004 World Series is brought to you by MasterCard. There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard. A look there at the Old North Church. 1 if by land, 2 if by sea. An eye on the opposite shore shall be. That's where David Ortiz is hitting all his home runs these days, to the opposite shore. A massive home run moments ago. Fenway Park, Boston, Mass. All lit up. Great to have you along. Rick Sutcliffe, Dave O'Brien with you. And some superstars hanging in the crowd as well. Jennifer Garner and Ben Affleck taking in the Red Sox. Ben is a huge Red Sox fan. Born and raised in the Boston area. Bunted at by Edmonds. And that's going to be a base hit with a shift on. Everyone pulled around toward right. And that's an easy single for Edmonds.
And that will change everything defensively. The way the Boston Red Sox play Jim Edmonds for him here on out. They're going to have to respect the fact that he could do this anytime he wants. See where the infield is? See how everybody is playing him to pull? You got a knuckleballer on the mound that does not throw hard. Look what he does. Simply turns around. He said, if you're going to give it to me, I will take it.
Little National League baseball from the National League champs. Edmonds, who had 42 home runs during the season, decides to lay down the single. An easy bunt.
And perfectly done. If it goes foul, it's just a strike. The key is to make sure you don't bunt it where the pitcher could field it.
Reggie Sanders takes a knuckleball in there for a strike. He's at 260, 22 home runs during the regular season. And another one of the power threats for the Cardinals. They hit 11 home runs in their league championship series win against the Houston Astros. And Sanders still with excellent power. Went for it there, foul, tipped it into the mid for a strike.
Excellent power and pretty much a good luck charm this time of the year. He's been in 3 of the last 4 World Series, including putting on a ring after the 2001 championship with Arizona.
The 38-year-old knuckleballer Wakefield on the hill has not started a game since October 1st, 22 days ago. Wakefield almost made it to the World Series 12 years ago, but his Pittsburgh Pirates lost to Atlanta in Game 7 of the National League Championship Series. And in 1999, he was left off the Red Sox playoff roster as the Yankees beat Boston to go on to the World Series. A lot of sweet redemption here for Tim Wakefield. They count 2-2 on Sanders.
He's just done so many things. Not only one of the more popular guys in that Boston clubhouse, but he's been a closer, he's been a long man, he's been a setup man, he's been a starting pitcher. He's even been a pinch hitter.
Edmonds at first base. Pulled wickedly foul into the crowd. Now they say about the knuckleball, Rick, as a hitter, you have to generate your own power because it's not going to come from a pitch fluttering up there at 64 miles an hour.
I was talking with Albert Pujols about that last night, and he said if anything, he might just spread out a little bit further so that he gets a little better look at it. He said instead of taking a long stride and having movement with his eyes, he said the baseball is going to be moving enough.
2-2 bounce to the plate. There goes the runner, and now he's going to run down, but there will be no throw as Edmonds reacted quickly to slide headfirst into first base. Mirabelli with a good reaction.
You got one of the best base running teams in the game in St. Louis, and we saw it during the Yankees series, one of the worst base running teams with the Boston Red Sox. He thought the ball would get away from Mirabelli. He started to take off, and then he's quick enough and smart enough to know that he's got to make the throw to second base immediately. He put on the brakes and got back.
Nobody out. Red Sox in front here 4-0 in the second inning. Full but foul along the third base line. And that'll set Edmonds again back to first base. Reggie Sanders has a little experience against Wakefield. He's 2 out of 9 in his career. You don't see a lot of good numbers against knuckleball pitchers. They are so rare, and the pitch itself can really embarrass a hitter.
Yeah, really the only guy is standing at first base. Edmonds at 459 with 37 at bats coming into play tonight. I'm guessing that's his first punt base hit.
I would think that's probably true, and you really can't practice for a knuckleball guy because you don't want to. No one wants to hit against him to begin with. That'll put you into a slump before you see the guy who starts with the knuckleball. That is up high for ball 4. So Wakefield has just passed on Reggie Sanders. He puts him on, and there are 2 men on base. As we give you a look at the umpiring crew tonight, it has Eddie Montague behind the plate. That's 28 years of Major League experience. He is the crew chief. This is his 5th World Series. He also umpired the 1986 World Series.
You have a lot of experience here. Chuck Merriweather and Brian Gorman, the youngest as far as experience is concerned, with 13 years.
And how about the scouting report on Eddie Montague? What to look for tonight?
Very, very good. He's very fair. He'll give the same pitches to the home team as he does the visiting team. If anything, to me, he favors the pitchers, and particularly as the game goes on and you prove that you can throw pitches on corners.
Well, the Cardinals have already proved that they can bunt. Edmonds with a bunt hit. Womack was trying to lay one down moments ago. Tony Womack, probably the littlest guy on the diamond, 5'9", 170, 35 years old.
Well, he's hurt too, Dave. That lower back has really caused him fits. Said last night he had to take himself out of a ball game. That's the first time at any level with any sport that he has ever had to do that.
Now, hitting a knuckleball is one thing. What about bunting one?
You have to make sure you stay on top of it. You do not want to pop it up in this situation.
Hold it away in time, and it's too high. 2-1.
You knew they were going to work the count. You knew that. You knew that this was a patient, a veteran lineup for the St. Louis Cardinals. To get back into this ball game when you're down by 4, you need some help. And the base on ball is always a possibility with Wakefield.
Wakefield has already thrown 31 pitches and has nobody out in the second inning. Good bunt. Miller has to barehand and throw. Got him. Edmonds and Sanders move up on the sacrifice. So now base hit can slice the Red Sox lead in half just like that.
Womack doing it perfectly. Miller right on top, had to come get the ball. Hustling down that line. They are a really, really fundamentally sound team, that being the Cardinals. Tony La Russa will not only sacrifice bunt, but I don't know of a manager in the big leagues that likes the suicide squeeze bunt any more than he does.
Well, he used it the other night to get the first run of Game 7 against Houston. Here's Mike Matheny, the catcher, hit .247 during the regular season. He had a 4 RBI game against Houston in that series. And a base hit here could mean 2 for the Cardinals here in Game 1.
Added pressure on the catcher. A pass ball, wild pitch could mean 1.
St. Louis finished the regular season with the best record in baseball. They went 105-57, including the best road record, 52-29. Only the Yankees and the Red Sox were better at home than Tony La Russa's team. And maybe not so starved for a world championship as Boston, but it's been a while for the passionate baseball fans of Cardinal Nation. It's been 22 years since 1982 they last won one.
Would you agree that most of the time when a team plays as well on the road as Tony La Russa's club has, that, I mean, it starts with a solid bullpen to be able to hold that lead late in the ball game, and he's got a lot of depth down there as well.
The crowd at Fenway eager for a strikeout. The 1-2. Fly to center instead. Damon backing up, still backing up. He's got it. Tagging up. Here comes Edmonds. Sanders will move into third, but Edmonds scores. And it is now a 4-1 game as the Cardinals are on the board. Matheny with the sacrifice.
Talk about manufacturing a run. It was a bunt that put Jim Edmonds at first base. It was a bunt that got him to third. And anytime you can get production from the bottom part of your lineup, in the National League in particular, you got to feel good about it. Tony La Russa has to feel good about what his club has done here.
So a 2 away. So Taguchi steps in. He's playing left field tonight, batting ninth. The first Japanese-born player ever to suit up for the St. Louis Cardinals. He fouls that one away. He did hit .291 during the regular season, but the main reason Taguchi is in the ballgame is because of the Green Monster and the funky angles out there in left field and left center at Fenway Park and down into the corner. He is a superb defensive outfielder. La Russa is very fond of his skills and doesn't want to take any chances at Fenway Park. That's outside, and the count 1-1.
Thinking about who played left field for the New York Yankees in the previous series.
Hideki Matsui. That's right. Another star from Japan. Up and in around the shoulder.
You don't need to jump out of the way of that ball. It's only coming in at about 60 miles an hour. If you could get on base here, you turn the lineup back over, and Renteria, believe it or not, would represent the tying run.
Lashed at, but he was late on it, fouled away. Taguchi has been in the United States in the major leagues here since 2001, but he played 10 years for Orix in Japan and was a teammate of the great Ichiro Suzuki for most of that time. Taguchi was the leadoff hitter. Ichiro eventually moved from the top spot to number 3 in that lineup. Check swing foul, still 2-2. On deck, Edgar Renteria. As the Cardinals bring a distinct international flavor to the World Series. Sanders leading in its dribbled foul. 4-1 Boston. We are in the second inning. Rick Sutcliffe, Dave O'Brien with you from Fenway Park on a cold, windy October night. The 2-2. Swung on and missed. He struck him out. This side is retired. So after an inning and a half, the Red Sox lead has been cut to 4-1. Taguchi whiffing to conclude the inning. But as we go to the second, more big bats.
Just an outstanding approach. Everybody knew what they wanted to do with the baseball. Look at Manny Ramirez. He was determined to go the opposite field to begin with. Ortiz determined to go deep. Millar was going to pull the baseball. Take a look here at Bill Miller, how he stayed inside of the baseball. He knew he was going to go to the opposite field, and by doing that, he picked up an RBI and a hit.
And the Red Sox piled on 4 runs against the veteran right-hander. St. Louis got 1 back. Bottom of the second, 4-1 Red Sox. And the number 9 hitter is Mark Bellhorn.
Ron Jackson saying before the Yankee series, the outstanding hitting coach for Boston, you have to give up something to get something. And what he means by that is you can't cover both sides of the plate against Woody Williams. Pick one side and be patient enough to wait to get a pitch there.
Bellhorn floats that one to left field. That's going to drop down for a base hit. And the Red Sox, who are slumping so badly most of the league championship, namely Damon and Bellhorn, are now suddenly hitting the ball everywhere. Bellhorn was a non-factor through most of the league championship until late when he hit 2 home runs in the last 2 games.
Boy, don't you feel like that double by Johnny Damon just got everybody going, saying, hey, you know, we don't have to wait on our leadoff guy for Game 7. He's ready to go right now. Bellhorn and the patience, even though he's hitting 9th, he's still in the lineup, and I think Terry Francona deserves credit.
Broken bat ground foul by Damon, who doubled and scored in the first inning. We may see a lot of broken bats tonight if Woody Williams really has that cutter going.
That was a good cut fastball there, but Johnny Damon knew that he was going to try to pull the baseball. Watch him get out over the plate. Look how quick he is with the hips inside. The reason for that, the first baseman is holding on the runner. You've got something given to you defensively. He was trying to take advantage of it. He knew in his mind he was going to pull that baseball on that pitch.
Line drive, Renteria will snatch it out of the air, and Bellhorn scampers back to first. Although another good swing by Damon, and all of a sudden his good at-bats are coming in bunches.
He hit that ball a lot harder than he did the double.
Sure did.
He just hit it right at the St. Louis Cardinals shortstop. I don't like the fact that he changed his approach, though. I think he should have continued to try to pull the baseball there. If you get a base hit to left field with a man on first, he's only going to get to second base. But if you pull it and it goes to right field, a lot of times the guy can go from first to third.
Orlando Cabrera has recovered, it would appear, from getting beaned by Woody Williams. He hits that one foul off to the right. He was hit up high in the first inning and took his base.
Might have recovered, but will he be the same hitter that he was before that? A good fastball to handle right there, but he was a little bit late pulling that trigger.
Could you tell that when you hit a guy the next time he came up, that he was skittish, that he was nervous? That
sure, you could.
You could manipulate that?
Absolutely, because if you take a little off your breaking ball and start it out in the same area as the fastball that hit him, take a look at this and watch what he does. See how the ball started up there? Look how quick he gave up on swinging at that pitch. Right now, and you can understand it, he's not the same hitter he was in the Yankee series.
He rips that one to left field, and Taguchi backs up to make the catch. And again, Bellhorn has to retreat, 2 down. Now, they're not falling in here in the second inning, although Bellhorn's floater did. The last 2 Red Sox have hit it pretty square.
I think you got to get somebody going. Woody Williams just cannot locate anything thus far tonight. Very, very fortunate right now that the Red Sox have not scored again here in the bottom of the second.
But here comes Manny Ramirez, and Tony La Russa knows oh so well the danger that he represents in the box. We talked about Manny not driving in a single run in the league championship, although he started every game of the 7-game series. And it's just the second time in league championship series history that a hitter batting in the 3, 4, or 5 spots of the order has played in every game of 7 games and not driven in a run. The only other time that happened was Barry Bonds in 1991 in the National League Championship Series, hitting 5th for the Pirates.
I blame Johnny Damon and Mark Bellhorn more so for that than I do Manny Ramirez. I go back to Game 4 when he walked 3 times. He had 2 hits in that 12-inning affair. You know, if you don't hit a homer, if they don't get on, you're not going to drive people in. But it was he that got the base hit before David Ortiz's home run, won that ball game, and got Boston started.
The count, 2 balls, no strikes, 2 out. Bellhorn at first base, and Manny hit a foul there. You know, at one point, Damon and Bellhorn went a combined 2 for 35.
There you go. There you go. That's the rest of the story, as they would say, as far as the numbers and lack of production by Manny Ramirez.
Damon 1 for 2 tonight with a double, though. And Bellhorn 1 for 1. He stands at first. Red Sox ahead 4-1 here in Game 1. There's a base hit in the left field. Bellhorn rounds, but he'll stay put at second. And the Red Sox are at it again against Woody Williams in the second inning. And guess who's coming to dinner? David Ortiz to swing again. You go back to the first inning. Can he hit the ball any harder than this?
I don't know. But he continues to put up big RBI numbers for the Boston Red Sox. That came in the first inning, 3-0. I mean, he just got done driving in 11 runs in the American League Championship Series. He's off to a good start in the World Series.
Dave Duncan, the pitching coach, out to the hill. And Danny Herron is the guy they're getting up in the bullpen. And so you just mentioned it a moment ago. They had to get somebody up because even the 2 outs in this inning were right on the screws.
I think I would have had somebody ready for David Ortiz here. Woody Williams again has been out there a long time.
Already a 3-run homer for Ortiz, who takes ball 1.
I got to go back to the very first at bat from Johnny Damon. That 10-pitch at bat. Not only did he win the battle and get on base and eventually score a run, but the rest of the Boston Red Sox lineup all got a good look at everything Woody Williams has to offer.
Ramirez and Bellhorn are on the bases, and that's off the corner. With men in scoring position in this postseason, look at the gaudy numbers that Papi Ortiz has put up, a .643 average.
A lot of times the guy that was on base for him is the guy that's at first base and on base again, his buddy Manny Ramirez.
He lets that one go high, and it's 3-0.
This is where a pitching coach will tell a bullpen coach to have him hurry it up a little bit. Green light.
What do you think? Yeah,
absolutely.
The way this guy's swinging, if it's in the zone. It was not, and he took it for ball 4, and the bases are loaded. And the Cardinals can feel the wolf at the door right now early. Second inning, down 4-1, and no place to put Millar.
You can't take a chance. I know Tony La Russa loves Woody Williams as much, if not more, than anybody. But he has been out there so long. He has not had that good curveball all night tonight. Hard to believe that he's going to get an opportunity to face one more guy when you look at those numbers.
Already allowing 6 hits, including a double to this man in the first inning, Kevin Millar, who tattooed the Green Monster. Oh, he went for it immediately. 0-1. Not waiting around, not hesitating a second. He was going to try and break this one wide open.
He might have been trying to hit your Sitco sign, swinging just a little bit too hard. That was a good pitch to handle. He just caught himself behind it.
There are 2 out, and the pitch. That drops low. 1 ball, 1 strike. Millar, very much the emotional soul and the comic relief of the Boston Red Sox. A look there at the Prudential Building, staring down on Fenway Park. Ground ball 3rd. Roland, so sure-handed, taps the bag, and that's it. Not a good inning for Woody Williams, but he gets out of it without any runs. Coming up for St. Louis as they look to counter. It'll be the top of their order. Renteria, Walker, and then Albert Pujols when we return to Fenway Park. Wakefield delivers a strike to get started here in the 3rd inning against Edgar Renteria, whom he struck out in the 1st inning. We would love to hear from you, so drop us an email, and there's the address on the screen. As the series continues, we'll do our best to answer those emails on the air. Rick Sutcliffe, Dave O'Brien. It would would be a great pleasure to hear from you wherever you are watching around the globe tonight, and we welcome you to Fenway Park for the 100th World Series in Major League history. We hope you like red, because there's a whole lot of that between Red Sox Nation and Cardinal Nation.
And it looks like there's going to be a whole lot of offense in this series for both sides.
Renteria rattles that one. Diving stop by Miller. He's up and gunning. Got him. Bill Miller can pick it over there at third base. One man away for St. Louis.
He always has been a solid all-around baseball player. That ball was headed towards Manny Ramirez in left field. A nice dive on the part of Miller. He was playing in shadow to respect the possibility of Renteria laying down a bunt, and his speed. The throw was the easy part after that terrific glove play.
Miller with the stab for out number 1 brings up Larry Walker, who had a long at bat, in fact a 10 pitch at bat, capped by a double in the first inning.
It's almost guaranteed a run scored for the Cardinals if that ball gets by Bill Miller.
Walker pulls this one down the line near the pesky pole, and that is going to be gone. A home run. Walker adds a home run to his double. That makes it 4-2 Boston. Larry Walker in his first World Series, and he is enjoying it. He also made a great catch down the line earlier tonight.
What a great catch he was by the front office and general manager Walt Jocketty to be able to talk Larry Walker out of leaving his home in Denver, Colorado, and bringing his family to St. Louis. You think about guys like Mark McGwire, like Jim Edmonds, and again picking up Larry Walker. Huge, huge. Knuckleball down and in. If Renteria would to have been on first base, Pujols would be up as that tying run.
That seems to be the power zone of Fenway tonight. That's where Ortiz home run went, although a little deeper than that. Larry Walker, that was really a stunning move when the Cardinals got him, because everybody assumed that Walt Jocketty, the general manager of the Cardinals, was set, that his lineup for the playoffs was pretty much set. And all of a sudden Larry Walker, an MVP, a Gold Glover, great all-around player, terrific base runner, a 5-tool talent, particularly in his younger days. All of a sudden he's in St. Louis.
And they were running away with the National League Central. It wasn't like there was a concern about them getting into the playoffs. It was getting beyond that. It was an expensive move, but one that was worth every penny of it thus far.
3-1 in there for a strike on Pujols, who is 0 for 1 tonight. Albert coming off a spectacular league championship against Houston. He went 14 for 28. He takes that one up high. In fact, that one getting away from Mirabelli, and Pujols is on it. Hit him.
Yeah,
got him up in the back.
Right in the middle of the back. Not going to hurt that big man. Ducked to begin with, and then the ball ducked down into him. Watch him turn his helmet. Right there at the end, turning away from it.
So the Cardinals have a base runner after the home run by Walker. 4-2 Boston here in the third inning. And a potential tying run coming up in Scott Rowland, and he can tie it up in a hurry. He had the big hit that propelled St. Louis into the World Series, the 2-run homer off of Roger Clemens in Game 7 of the National League Championship. Hit 34 home runs during the season. It's 0-1.
You know, I just wonder if there would have been any home runs tonight if that pesky pole down the right field line were not as close as it is. If it were backed up, say another 20 feet where most of them are, both of those home runs could have hooked foul.
The dimensions of Fenway Park, depending on whom you ask, it is cozy, but not when you get out to 420 behind Johnny Damon and where Jim Edmonds is playing tonight. Then it's cavernous. Just 310 feet though down the left field line, and 302 to right to that foul pole. The pesky pole named after Johnny Pesky, former Red Sox infielder who is here tonight. He's, what, 85 years old now, and Johnny says, I just want to see the Red Sox win a World Series and I can die a happy man.
What an ovation he got. Maybe the best one. Maybe the not the longest, but the loudest one of all of the Red Sox introduced. The longest one? How about Derek Lowe?
Yeah.
How quick things have changed for him.
Johnny Pesky hit that pole 6 or 7 times for a homer in his career. And they named it after him, sort of.
Well, it's pesky because it's so short.
That might be it.
That's the first problem with it.
But Johnny was involved in World Series lore in 1946 against the St. Louis Cardinals. Series won by the Cardinals in 7 games. Johnny Pesky, as Enos Country Slaughter raced around the bases, they say Johnny held the ball too long. Didn't fire home, and a run scored for the game winner.
You know, I've not signed my name to the Pesky pole. I saw all the autographs that the fans have, all the things that they have written there over the years. I have signed my name inside the Green Monster, though.
You have?
Oh, yeah.
Now, how did you just attain that privilege?
Snuck in there with a Sharpie.
That camera, that view is from inside the Green Monster. Another one fouled away by Rolen. Let's go inside the famous Green Monster now. Behind that gigantic wall in left field. We're going to look for the Rick Sutcliffe signature one of these days. It's somewhere in there.
Look at all of them.
Carlton Fisk, Carl Yastrzemski, many of the great Red Sox and opponents as well. Too high on Rolen.
I didn't put that HOF though underneath my autograph like Carlton Fisk did.
No, he's in there.
It doesn't belong there, that Hall of Fame.
That wall is closer to the back of Manny Ramirez, isn't it? Miller scoops up another one, guns to second one. Nicely turned by Boston for the double play. The side is retired, but Larry Walker homers again. The Red Sox with the double play, but this game is a little closer. We go to the last half of the third at Fenway. Boston in front of St. Louis 4-2. Already for 6 hits, including a towering home run by David Ortiz.
This is what it looked like from the eyes of Manny Ramirez. Look at him coming in there in case he was needed to back up a play or a throw. Not needed. His bat all of a sudden though becomes needed. Love that angle there.
Kind of puts you right on the field.
Yeah.
And if you're a fan in the lower boxes at Fenway, you feel like you're right on the field anyway, so close to the action. On the inner corner on Nixon, 0 for 1 tonight. He's flied out to right. Now, the Red Sox may have karma on their side. That has not been said very often over the last 86 years. But against the Yankees, they were out-hit, outscored. They struck out more often, walked less, and grounded into twice as many double plays, and yet still won the series despite being statistically outpitched as well. Winning in 7 as Trot Nixon grounds out 1 man away here in the 3rd inning.
Williams making a little adjustment here. Instead of trying to deal with that curveball, he just simply has forgotten about it. He threw one among his warm-up pitches, and I guess didn't like what he saw. He did not throw another one. I think right there Trot Nixon might have been looking for that curveball. He got the changeup instead. Woody Williams got the out.
Woody would sell his soul for a 1-2-3 inning. He's thrown a lot of pitches in the first 2 1/3. Facing Bill Miller here, who singled and drove in a run off him in the first inning. 52 pitches now for the righty, who is going without a jersey under that game shirt, at least in terms of long sleeves. Just the t-shirt, that's it.
Tough man right there. Mike Matheny making it tough. Take a look at all of the different signs with nobody on. You wonder why that is. There's been talk that they have a huge home field advantage here, that being the Red Sox. They talk about cameras and lights going on, tipping what pitches may be coming or whatever. When you look at the numbers, you have to wonder. I mean, they hit over 300 as a team. a lot of guys with bigger numbers than that. So just to eliminate any doubt you might have, don't just put down one finger. Go through a series of signs as if there was a Boston Red Sox standing out there at second base looking in.
Because somebody may be watching from someplace. Pretty good bet.
Not a bad idea.
There are plenty of places to hide in this old park. Built way back in 1912.
Plus they've got cameras in the Green Monster now.
Yeah. Well, we've showed you that camera out there in left field. There's another view. And it was from that vantage point that television captured one of the most famous home runs in World Series history, Carlton Fisk. And his shot in 1975, the one he waved fair up there against the foul pole in left field. There's ball 4 to Bill Miller. So he's on with 1 out. That'll bring up Doug Mirabelli. Now, if you watch the American League Championship Series, you saw Jason Varitek in all but 2 innings behind the plate for the Red Sox. But Mirabelli has caught all but 4 1/3 innings of Tim Wakefield over the last 2 years. So tonight he gets his first playoff start of this postseason.
You can understand why he struck out in his first at bat. It's got to seem like 2 years since he's had an opportunity to do anything offensively.
And Varitek's 3 passed ball inning in Game 5 also helped make this a no-brainer kind of move. That was a little embarrassing for Varitek because he doesn't get a chance to catch this guy regularly. Talking about Tim Wakefield.
Tough situation though, Dave, when you only have 2 catchers. Because if you were to have taken Varitek out, you put Mirabelli in. Let's say he gets hurt, has to come out of the game. Where do you go?
Fouled back on a pretty healthy rip by Mirabelli.
When we asked Terry Francona that question, he said that the emergency catcher for them would be Doug Minkiewicz,
who probably last caught back in what, Little League? So that adds another spin to it.
He was catching footballs in high school. We know that, thrown by Alex Rodriguez.
So whatever the position, he's got good hands. Here's the 0-1. That drops across for a strike. Now Mirabelli is an underrated hitter. Since 2001, when he arrived in Boston, he's had 615 at bats. That's roughly 1 long season.
Sure.
And over that time, he's hit 31 homers, 40 doubles, and he's driven in 101 runs.
Wow. It's a great year.
Flicks that one foul off to the right. So Varitek sitting tonight, at least for the first few innings, as long as Wakefield is out there.
Well, Francona too in the managers meetings this afternoon was saying that, you know, Mirabelli is not a guy that he's likely going to pinch hit for. You mentioning those numbers there, you can see why.
And Mirabelli may be the best backup in the big leagues.
I would agree with that.
Tell you what, the Red Sox are really forcing up the pitch count on Woody Williams. All the foul balls, the long at bat by Damon to begin the night. He's up to 61. And not a night for the faint of heart. It was 49 when we started. That was the temperature, and that's dropping fast. Swung on, driven to left field, high up there, high up off the Green Monster. Miller racing into third, Brokens into second. That's a Fenway single, but runners on the corners, and another wicked shot off Woody Williams for the Red Sox.
The pesky pole has given up a couple of home runs tonight. The Green Monster has taken a couple of home runs away. This ball right up at the top of the Monster. Mirabelli knew that he hit it hard. The ball came right back to Taguchi. He did an outstanding job keeping the double play in order. He gets it in, and he knows right where to throw it. Varitek cheering for his guy, hoping that the ball was going to get out, figuring that it probably wouldn't.
I think Jason only takes those gloved hands of his out of the jacket if it's gone.
Does he not deserve a rest?
He sure does. Oh. In that long, historically long league championship against the New York Yankees, he caught all but 2 innings. And here's Bellhorn. Tried to hold up Diddy. They appeal. And no swing, says Chuck Merriweather. They count 2-0. So Mirabelli with a lengthy single off the Green Monster on an 0-2 pitch. Only one out. Bellhorn with a single in the second inning.
Left-handers hit only .223 off of Woody Williams during the regular season. Right-handers just under 300. I think the biggest reason for that is a changeup that we have seen from time to time tonight. And his best pitch, his out pitch, is a cut fastball. The curveball is his strikeout pitch.
That one went around the plate. 3-1.
See the numbers there. You know that he's going to face a lot more right-handed hitters than he does left-handers during the year. So a lot of power numbers from that left side as well. When he makes a mistake, it goes a long ways. We've seen that tonight.
And he's making mistakes. 10 of the first 17 Red Sox have reached base. Grounded fair. No, foul. Pujols went after it, lunged, and that one skipped outside the bag. And no argument from Francona.
There's no way he could see that. He has to trust his first base coach, Lynn Jones, that this ball was indeed foul. I think that's a terrific call by Dale Scott. He was in the perfect position to make the call. Pujols not far from the bag.
And Scott right on top of it. And Woody catches a break.
Well, he'd like to catch a strikeout here, Dave, but to get it, he'd like to go to that big curveball. He just has not been able to make a good pitch with that tonight. There it is again.
Yep, down into the dirt for ball 4. Second walk in the inning. And the bases will be loaded up for Boston for the second time in the game. How long can you stay with him?
That's what Tony La Russa is wondering right now. He knows what a competitor Woody Williams is. He knows that he's not intimidated by this crowd or this situation. He's going to send his longtime pitching coach, Dave Duncan, to the mound to see if Dave Duncan, Woody Williams, and Mike Matheny can figure something out.
Now, Woody Williams did not allow a runner past second base in Game 5 of the league championship in Houston. He did strain a calf muscle running to cover first base in the third inning of that game. Who knows if that's troubling him tonight? He has not given any sign of that. But the Red Sox are troubling him. He has hit a batter. He's walked 2. He's allowed 7 hits. 11 of 18 have reached against him. And David Ortiz just crushed a 3-run homer in the first inning.
For him to get out of this, I think this is a situation, Dave, he has to think down. Even though the ball was hit hard the last time, the pitch location was down, and the shortstop was able to help him out.
Here's Damon, 1 for 2. Jumps on it, but down the line and foul.
You got to forget about that curveball. It's just not there. If you could hang around to the 5th or 6th inning, it might come back. He's lucky to get another opportunity to make a pitch. There's no rotation to it. It's obviously so cold. He's been out there so long each inning that he loses the grip.
Ripped into right field for a base hit. Miller is in. 1 run scores, and the Red Sox have added another to lead it 5-2. You have to wonder if that's going to be it for the right-handed Woody Williams tonight.
I just can't understand why he continues to fight himself with that pitch. It's not there. Here's the curveball again, outer half of the plate. It just rolls. There's no real bite to it to do anything good for him. He continues to try to throw it. Really surprised Tony La Russa has not come out of the dugout.
Here he comes, and he's made the move. Here comes La Russa. He has made the pitching change. He has seen enough of Woody Williams tonight. Aaron is going to come on, but facing a bases loaded situation with only 1 man out. So he is right into the fire with Boston up by 3. Tony La Russa not doing Danny Herron any real favors here. His first World Series experience, and he is going to come on with the bases loaded.
There's something Tony La Russa would like to get his hands on. The scouting report on his pitchers. Ron Jackson, Kevin Millar taking a look at what their scouts have told them about young Danny Herron. Hard throwing right-hander, one of the top minor league prospects in the whole St. Louis Cardinals system.
So far he's appeared in one playoff game, and now he'll be squaring off against Orlando Cabrera with no place to put him. Mirabelli, Bellhorn, and Damon on the bases. Damon moments ago an RBI single. First ball swinging, he tags it into left field. Mirabelli is in, they're reloaded, and another run is home. It is 6-2. A very aggressive Orlando Cabrera with an RBI single. Charged that one to Woody Williams. His line is going to look real ugly by the end of the night. And the Red Sox just keep racking up the hits.
Well, a lot of line drives lead up to an ugly line. The aggressiveness on the part of Cabrera. He knows that the pitcher's in trouble. He knows the bases were loaded. He knew Herron was wanting to throw a first pitch strike, and he jumped all over it.
And now, if you're Manny Ramirez, you're thinking about adding to your total of grand slams. He is 1 for 2 tonight with a fly to right field and a single. Going for the downs, but he missed it for strike one. Now he's still responsible for the runners at second and third, but here's the pitching line on Woody Williams, and 8 hits, 6 runs, including 3 walks and a hit batter.
Only 1 strikeout. His strikeout pitch was the big curveball. He did not have it tonight.
Manny Ramirez hitting. In for a strike.
All right, Manny, we covered you a little bit for not having any RBIs in the American League Championship Series. We said that along with you not driving anybody in, Bellhorn and Johnny Damon weren't on base a whole lot. Well, big boy, they're out there now. It's up to you.
130 RBIs during the regular season for Ramirez. Grounds that one deep short. Renteria tracks it down, throws to second. Got the force there, but another run is in as Bellhorn crosses the plate to make it 7-2. A fine play by Renteria. And Manny Ramirez finally has that RBI after a long wait since the division series.
It really was a smart play by Edgar Renteria to go back, get it on the big hop, and make sure of 1 out. And Orlando Cabrera made sure that they weren't going to get that second out. Watch how hard he goes into second base here. Tony Womack had no chance, even though he was on the left field side of the bag. He had to just completely quit thinking about making the throw.
So 2 down, runners at first and third. And Ortiz climbs in again. Already a 3-run homer and a walk for him. The big lefty has over the last 2 years gone from a virtual unknown in Minnesota to an offensive force. He slugged 3 home runs in a league championship, had a game-winning hit in back-to-back classic wins here against the Yankees. Game 4 in 12 innings, he hit the home run. In Game 5 in 14 innings, the game-winning single. And then he torched a first-inning home run against Kevin Brown in Game 7.
Cabrera torched that first pitch from Danny Herron for a base hit in this inning. Cabrera's the only one with any previous at-bats off of the young right-hander for St. Louis. He was 0 for 3 until that at-bat with the bases loaded. Not a whole lot you can tell your teammates. You really rely on your advanced scouts and what the report said in that book that Ron Jackson held.
The 3-0 taking ball 4, loaded up again for Boston. Ortiz walking for the second time.
Well, it's a great offensive night, Dave, when your leadoff hitter has 3 at-bats in the first 3 innings. But now so does your second, third, fourth, and coming up for his 3rd at-bat tonight is Kevin Millar, your 5th guy.
And so the Red Sox, having loaded them up yet again, Millar becomes the 9th man to swing the bat here in the 3rd inning for Boston. They have already scored 3 times in this inning, 4 in the first inning. 0-1.
This cold weather could really be a problem for the St. Louis Cardinals starting rotation. Morris, Jeff Suppan, big curveball guys, getting a grip on that pitch. Impossible for Woody Williams tonight.
Broken back ground ball to the left side, charged by Renteria, and the side is finally retired. But the Red Sox get 3 runs, and they bolster their lead to 7-2. And we'll see if the Cardinals can respond here. Jim Edmonds, Reggie Sanders, and Tony Womack will swing when we return to Fenway in Game 1.
Most of the time when Jim Edmonds hits the ball on the ground, he's going to pull that baseball. The Boston Red Sox knew that. See how they are set up defensively? The 3rd baseman actually in the shortstop position there. What does he do? In his very first at bat of this series, lays down a bunt for a base hit, scores a run, and now look at what happens. You've got your 3rd baseman back home again. You've got an opportunity. You can see where Bill Miller is right now. I mean, that opportunity to get that ground ball through is better, the percentages for Edmonds, than they were before.
Edmonds adding to his success against Wakefield. He came into the night hitting .459 off him, and that's no small sample. It was 37 at bats. So he's now 18 for 38 after the bunt hit against the knuckleballer.
Seems like so long ago that Jim Edmonds played for the Anaheim Angels, huh?
And that was the early part of his career when he was making a lot of those spectacular catches in Southern California. Of course, he made a sensational catch, a game-saving catch in Game 7 of the National League Championship on Thursday night against Houston. That full extension dive, we've seen that so many times.
He can beat you in so many different ways. He can beat you with his bat, his glove.
Well, here he takes ball 4. So Wakefield wanted nothing to do with him. And Wakefield, along with hitting a batter, has now walked 2 men.
I think it just shows you the difference in strategies as far as the American League and the National League. Edmonds with 42 home runs. I mean, do you think David Ortiz would ever have even thought about that? You could put everybody over there. You could, put all 8 guys over there, and he's not going to lay down a bunt. They do things differently. They play small ball a little bit more in the National League than they do in the American.
And yet they led all of baseball in runs scored and have a slew of dangerous home run hitters. Here's one of them, Reggie Sanders. He walked in the 2nd inning. Cardinals trying to win their first World Series since 1982. Overall, they've won 9 of their 15 trips to the series, including twice over Boston in 1946 and again in 1967. That one gets by Mirabelli. That will allow Edmonds to move up. So even Mirabelli, who is tested against Wakefield, Every once in a while this will happen.
It's impossible to be perfect back there, and I think what he was trying to do was to keep that ball as high as he could as he caught it to possibly help Wakefield pick up a strike. You've already walked one guy. The count is now 2-0 on Reggie Sanders. The last thing you want to do is give away bases.
So a pass ball charged to Mirabelli. And Edmonds into scoring position. The Cardinals down 7-2 in the top of the 4th inning of World Series Game 1. He
can't even throw his fastball for a strike.
And you're talking about a guy in Reggie Sanders who only walked 33 times during the regular season. He's a difficult man to walk, and Wakefield's already passed on him once. That up high for ball 4 means he has walked again. You know, the thing about the knuckleball, Sut, as you know very well from playing with guys who threw it, playing against guys who threw it, it can disappear like that for a couple of innings, and then it can reappear just as quickly.
It's so tough, too, for a pitching coach like Dave Wallace to know what to tell Tim Wakefield here. You give him a lot of credit for bringing in Charlie Huff to work with Wakefield to get him to where he could be productive towards the end of the year and then again in the postseason. If I'm Wallace, I just tell him, hey, remember what you and Charlie talked about? And I talked with Charlie Huff after he worked with him the first time. Charlie said the big thing with any knuckleball pitcher is his confidence. You got to get the confidence back. So you work on the mental part of it and then maybe tweak one little thing as far as the grip is concerned.
Tony Womack to step in. He dropped down a sacrifice bunt in the 2nd inning. The Red Sox think he'll do it again. Nobody out. 1st and 2nd for the Cardinals. Womack actually started in spring training with the Boston Red Sox. He was in their camp recovering from Tommy John ligament replacement surgery on the elbow, but he was still balky. The Red Sox let him go in March. He wound up with St. Louis as the table setter for the top offense in baseball. Now he's trying to beat them here in Fenway. The 1-0 pitch around the plate. 2-0, and all of a sudden Wakefield cannot locate the dish.
There will always be one at bat that I think of when I look at Tony Womack. Bottom of the 9th, Mariano Rivera on the mound. Yanked that ball down the line, creating that win for Arizona.
It was Game 7 of the 2001 World Series. Not only a double to score a run to tie the game, it put the winning run at 3rd, setting the stage for Luis Gonzalez' series-winning single. 3-0 and a strike.
No sign from third base coach Jose Oquendo, leaving Womack on his own.
He was going to swing, but he took inside for ball 4, and the bases are loaded on 3 straight walks. So Wakefield has lost the touch on the knuckleball. A look at his pitch count. Inning by inning, it's going up to 77.
And you start to lose your defense as well. They're getting tired of just watching pitch after pitch and absolutely nothing for them to do. A lot for Dave Wallace to do. You get the bullpen going.
Nobody out. St. Louis can jump right back in it, down 5 here. But Wakefield has walked 3 in a row. And he still can't throw it in the strike zone.
You got to go right to your fastball right now.
It's a very hittable fastball. We'll see if Matheny is guessing along. Swing and a miss.
That makes absolutely no sense there on either part to me. For Wakefield to throw another knuckleball, and for Matheny, when he sees the knuckleball, to take the bat off his shoulder.
Matheny with a cold bat in the league championship. He was just 2 for 19 against Houston. There's a strike. Matheny may have just done Tim Wakefield a giant favor by swinging at the previous pitch.
Yeah, that confidence, he got a little bit of it back.
The Cardinals with a man at every base, nobody out. 2-2. On deck, So Taguchi. But Matheny with issues of his own against Wakefield. He is just 3 out of 24 career against him. That one a little bit low. Fills up the count at 3-2. Edmonds, Sanders, and Womack. And a 3-2 pitch to Matheny. Fouled away. You know, the score is 7-2, but all of a sudden Fenway has gotten very tense. Boston up by 5, hammering away and knocking Woody Williams off the hill tonight, but Wakefield is in trouble. Popped up right field. In comes Nixon. Edmonds back to tag. Here he comes. The throw cut off. Throw to third is a wild throw by Millar, and that one skips off into the crowd. Millar firing that one into the grass. An awful throw. And the Red Sox, with the bases loaded, wind up giving away runs here on a terrible play by Kevin Millar.
A terrific play, though, on the part of Jim Edmonds. That ball was not hit that deep. Trot Nixon with a good arm. But Edmonds made the decision, along with Oquendo, that he could score. Then Trot Nixon makes the perfect throw. There's Millar. He has got Reggie Sanders nailed. But when he hesitates getting the ball out of his glove, he simply should have held on to it. He tried to force the throw. It ended up in the dugout, and another run came on in for St. Louis.
So the Cardinals scored twice. It is now 7-4. Matheny with a sacrifice fly and then charged the error to Millar. We've talked about it. The Red Sox defensively give away at some positions, and first base is certainly one. Ground ball runner trying to score. Miller will fire on the first base to get the out as another man crosses the plate. Womack is in. That makes it 7-5. Bill Miller, thinking about coming home, changed his mind.
He very well could have come home, Dave, if he could have gotten it out of his glove, but he too could not get it out to begin with. Right there, he hesitated, he bobbled, and at least he was smart enough to make the throw to first base to get the out. Watch what happens here with Womack. He knows he's in trouble. Look at where he gets. He gets out into the baseline as far as he possibly could, saying, hey, if you're going to make the throw to home, you're going to have to get that ball around me. He was sacrificing his body there to make sure he picked up that run.
So the 3 men that Wakefield walked have all come across to score.
Look at where he's at. All right, now he knows he's in trouble. He looks back, he goes, all right, I'm going to make this as difficult as I possibly can on you. If Miller could have come out of the glove with the ball cleanly, I think he had time to get the throw there, but he too hesitated on it. He saw Millar bobble the exchange from the glove to the hand, and he said, I'm not going to make the same mistake.
So now it's a 2-run game as the Cardinals come back, and Edgar Renteria in there. He is 0 for 2 with a strikeout and a ground out, and the count goes to 3-0 on him. So defensively a letdown for Boston, but Wakefield has himself largely to blame for losing the strike zone here in the 4th inning. Larry Walker up next. He's having a big night already with a double and a homer. Low for ball 4. His 4th walk in the inning.
That has to be it. Here comes Terry Francona.
So quick nights for both starters, Williams and Wakefield. Francona out to make a change. And that'll do it for the knuckleballer. It just disappeared on him here in the 4th inning. He had a 7-2 lead coming into this frame. Now it is 7-5. Francona makes the change, and we'll be back in what has suddenly become a close game. Game 1 at Fenway. Enjoying this trip to Fenway.
We have enjoyed watching him do things like this throughout his career. What a play down that difficult line. Comes right back with a home run. He comes right back with a double. He's found a home away from home down there around Pesky's pole.
Home run double, great catch. We'll see what's in store here as he faces Bronson Arroyo, just brought in from the Red Sox bullpen. First ball swinging, he cranks it to right for his 3rd hit of the game. Renteria scampers into 3rd, and he stops right there. Larry Walker 3 for 3. He can hit the ball, and the Cardinals have scored 5 to climb back in it. It's now 7-5. And you look at St. Louis collectively, #1 in hitting, #1 in hits, #1 in runs to lead the National League in all of those categories.
And I don't know that there's a stat to prove that they're #1, but they are by far the best base running team in the National League again this year. Walker, one of the best base runners ever.
So here comes Albert. Pujols 0 for 1. He's been hit by a pitch. And the way he's going, it's just a matter of time. He was 14 for 28 in the league championship with 4 homers and 9 runs batted in. Coming into tonight, hitting .442 in the postseason.
How about this? All of the things that Boston has done offensively, and one swing of the bat from Pujols, St. Louis takes the lead.
In for strike. You know, a week ago tonight here at Fenway, the Yankees and Red Sox scored 27 runs between them. And tonight, Boston and St. Louis have already put up 12. Both starters have been knocked out in the early innings. Way outside. Mirabelli going to the normal catcher's mitt now that Wakefield has been knocked out of the game.
Yeah, but he's going to a guy that he's normally not used to catching. He got rid of the bigger glove that he used to catch Tim Wakefield with. Here comes the smaller one in.
Ground ball off the end of the bat. Cabrera shovels the Bellhorn, got the outside, retired. But the Cardinals have scored 3 times. They did it on only 1 hit. All 3 men who walked came across to score. The Red Sox look to counter as we go to the last half of the 4th inning. Some big bats coming up. The Red Sox have already struck for 9 hits and 7 runs. Well, it was 7-2. Now it is 7-5. The Cardinals are right back in this contest. Game 1 from Fenway. Bottom of the 4th now, and Trot Nixon crowding that plate against Herron. Nixon is 0 for 2. Hasn't done much in the postseason, but he did make that terrific catch in Game 5 of the league championship with the bases loaded and Hideki Matsui hitting that sinking line drive to right field. Rick, if this falls in, 3 runs scored, and it's 7-2 Yankees, that means lights out for Boston.
It would have been a completely different story, too, as far as the outcome of that ball game and the way people here in Boston look at Pedro Martinez. He would have taken the loss in that game if not for the 2 outstanding plays made by his right fielder.
Trot Nixon looking to help out offensively, though. He's just 6 for 31 in the last 2 series. And the count 3-1.
Are they using a smaller plate tonight? Did they change home plate and didn't tell me about it?
It has tightened up, hasn't it?
What's going on with throwing strikes? Nothing even close for Eddie Montague. There you go.
On the corner. On the edge. 3 balls, 2 strikes.
I really thought Herron would settle down here in the bottom of the 4th. He's a starting pitcher at the minor league level. He will be in the rotation for St. Louis a year from now. Hard thrower.
Quick worker.
Quick worker, dominated at the AAA level earlier this year. You bring him in a situation Woody Williams put him in. I mean, he's going to struggle a little bit there. But you put him here in the windup, you let him start the inning, he should find his comfort zone.
Nixon pops it foul, back out of play. And the Boston Red Sox early in their history, I mean way back to 1903, were the dominant team in Major League Baseball. They won a World Series that year, won it again in 1912, which was the first year Fenway Park was open. Popped up toward the stands. That'll sink off into the crowd. Red Sox won it again in 1915 and in 1916 and in 1918. Boston's last World Championship came that year. That year the Red Sox won in 6 games. There was not a single home run hit in the series, and every game was played in 1 hour and 58 minutes or less. Punched again to left, but foul.
We're not playing 3 innings in an hour, 50 minutes or less. You know what I find so hard to believe about Boston, though, is that the only American League pennants that they won one in 1946, none in the 50s, one in the 60s, one in the 70s, and only one again in the 80s.
Ball 4. Nixon draws a walk to begin the 4th inning for Boston. We're going to be right back here at Fenway Park for Game 2 tomorrow as the 2004 World Series continues. Sunday, October 24th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Live coverage of the World Series. Absolutely drenched in red. All part of October. 8 teams, 1 champion. Right here in Major League Baseball International. This is the only baseball game being played on the planet tonight.
30 teams started this year dreaming and hoping of being right here. Only 2 are left. There are no other scores to report in the world of baseball tonight.
There might be a couple of back lot, like sandlot kind of games of some import somewhere, but professionally speaking, at the big league level, this is it. Bill Miller with an RBI single in the 1st inning. He's also walked and scored.
You have to feel like the struggles for both of the starting pitchers tonight, Dave, have something to do with their first World Series experience. And all of the questions, all of the hype, all of the hopes that are riding on each of these teams to win a championship finally. It's been since 1989 for Tony La Russa since he won a championship. And I think one of the biggest knocks on what will be a Hall of Fame career for him.
Yep, over 2,000 wins, but had some great clubs in Oakland.
Oh, in Chicago, even before that. And then, of course, going to the postseason as much as he has with this Cardinal team, but falling short year after year.
Nixon with a short lead at first. Nobody out in the 2-2. Now a full count on Miller. Game 1 is important, obviously, winning it in a World Series. Maybe not as important as you think. The team that wins the first game of the series goes on to win the World Series 61% of the time. 3-2 runner goes, foul away at the plate. And the team that has won Game 1 of the series has only swept 16% of the time. Surprisingly low.
I think what happened at the All-Star game, though, is huge for these 2 teams, particularly the Boston Red Sox and how well they play at home. They're pretty much a 500 team on the road until the last 6 weeks of the season. I'm not so sure that. I know we wanted to bring some attention to the All-Star game, but that's huge for them to get the home field advantage because of what happened.
Outside for ball 4. We've seen a lot of walks in this one. And Herron has walked the first 2 hitters in the 4th in front of Doug Mirabelli.
Well, 3 of the 5 St. Louis Cardinal runs came on walks. 2 of the Boston Red Sox 7 runs have come on the base on ball, and now there's 2 more out there to start off here in the bottom of the 4th.
The Red Sox have accepted 6 free passes. And of course, while Wakefield was on the mound in 3 2/3, he walked 5 men. And there have also been 2 hit batters. How much of that do you put on the weather conditions?
I don't put any on it. I put the fact that these guys are out there trying to pitch. You know what? I take that. I mean, you can't throw that curveball. You're going to have trouble with the knuckleball. That's why I couldn't believe Wakefield didn't throw more fastballs.
Mirabelli knocks that one right at Taguchi, reaches up for the catch, and 1 man out.
Right, here's the difference in American League and National League teams. No question. Tony La Russa were in that spot with a 2-run lead, 2 on, nobody out. That would have been a sacrifice bunt. He would have been playing to make sure his team got at least 1 run. Terry Francona, on the other hand, he sits back and waits on that 3-run homer.
Well, he got a big one of those out of Mark Bellhorn in Game 6 of the American League Championship at Yankee Stadium. Tonight, Bellhorn has singled and taken ball 4. So the Red Sox have runners at first and second, 1 out, leading 7-5 in the bottom of the 4th inning. Aaron from the set. High pop up along the right field line. Walker coming in, Womack out, and Walker stumbles, but he made the catch. He looked at Womack, I think, at the last minute, thinking maybe Tony Womack was closer than he was and might make the play, but Walker recovered.
That wind just continued to push this baseball towards the infield. Walker calling for it, and then he realized at the last second, I mean, boy, does that take some soft hands to be able to make that play. He's coming in now, and that ball's going away from him faster than he could get there. Hesitated for a second because Womack came out to help him. Right about now, he sees Womack coming out. He goes, no, I got it right now. I got it. He's yelling, but there's no way Tony Womack could hear that because of how loud the crowd is.
And the wind, of course, blowing in as Johnny Damon hits for the 4th time in the first 4 innings. It's been gusting in from center field as the temperatures continue to chill here at Fenway. Damon with 2 hits, a single and a double. He's actually had 3 very good at bats tonight. They're bundled up, but they are happy, at least at the moment, with the Red Sox up by 2. Delighted to be back in the World Series for the first time since 1986 here in Boston. A strike, 2-1. The first 2 Red Sox reached on walks in this inning. But then Mirabelli and Bellhorn have made outs.
Looking curveball, got changeup. That's why I can't believe Herron not throwing more strikes than he has. None of these Boston Red Sox hitters have seen him.
Little blooper. Renteria out. Coming on Taguchi. He'll get there. And the Red Sox strand 2 more. They have left 9 men on base in the first 4 innings. So we have completed 4 innings at Fenway Park. On to the 5th. And for the St. Louis Cardinals, they've closed the gap to 2 as Damon can't get it done in this at bat. He pops up. We welcome you back to Boston. The Cheers Bar, less than a mile from Fenway Park, the place where everybody knows your name. Kind of feels that way at Fenway Park. It's so cozy here. 35,000 jammed in for Game 1 of the World Series. And Scott Rowland looking at a strike. There have already been over 200 pitches thrown in this game by the 2 sides combined. Red Sox up 7-5. Rowland is 0 for 2. He has popped up and hit into a double play. On a soft line drive, it's caught by Cabrera. One up, one down.
Seeing all of those pitches, a lot of the reason for the successes of both of these clubs, not only in the regular season but the postseason. The Boston Red Sox during the course of this year saw 25,592 pitches. They averaged 159 per game, by far the most in the majors.
Where did you come up with that one?
You know, you do 7-game series, and you know that you're going to another 7-game series. You get up early in the morning.
Jim Edmonds with a bunt single and a walk in this one. He has scored 2 of the Cardinal runs. He fell behind 0-1 and wasn't thrilled by that one. Now 0-2 as he tried to take out his frustration and knock it into the bullpen.
He can be so good, and then at times he can look so bad.
Edmonds still chatting up Eddie Montague.
You know, both he and Scott Rowland offensively have been streaky kind of guys, and you know, both of them right now on one of those hot streaks. 150 strikeouts on the year for Jimmy Edmonds, right at 150 games played. I think that's been the whole thing. For Edmonds, he's been healthy this year. For Rowland, it's been his best year. For Albert Pujols, just, wouldn't you say, a typical year?
I'd say that, although he got off to a slow start by his standards. Man, did he end it well. That's in there for strike 3. Edmonds caught looking. He had a couple of separate conversations with Montague, and he winds up taking a seat.
You don't do that to Eddie Montague. All right, that was called strike 1. You saw the bad body language. Watch the emotion here from Eddie Montague. He couldn't wait to raise that right hand. Look at him. Get over there. Go sit down. And don't ever argue with me again.
Now, that was a strike.
Absolutely. All of them were.
But with relish, Montague ringing him up. Fly along the right field line. Nixon near the stands. Very close, and it's off into the crowd. Reggie Sanders, the hitter, he's walked twice and scored a run.
It'll really be difficult for the center fielders and right fielders tonight on those high fly balls, because that wind will do a lot of different things with them.
May have just blown a certain out off into the stands.
Should have had a 1-2-3 inning.
But Arroyo is a strike throwing machine this inning. 6 pitches, 6 strikes. Or maybe 1 ball if he asked Jim Edmonds.
His opinion doesn't count.
No, sir.
Mr. Montague is how I used to refer to him.
First one off the plate there by Arroyo in the inning. Well, the Cardinals have been walked 5 times. The Red Sox have been walked 6 times. Fouled back, so a night filled with base runners, and we're only in the top of the 5th inning. Is this the way this series is going to go? Every inning a chance to score 2, 3, 4 runs for both sides.
Well, I really think the Cardinals are going to have a difficult time shutting down the offense of the Boston Red Sox. Curt Schilling, Pedro Martinez, they have the ability to shut down the Cardinals. Whether they do it or not is why we're here.
Schilling to go in game number 2. They're going to suture that ankle back up. I believe that's already happened.
Yep.
Here's the 1-2 pitch. Now even on Sanders. That extraordinary surgical procedure, I guess you can call it that, where they suture that ankle to keep that tendon in place.
I had never heard of that being done before.
Well, I don't know if it's ever been done before. I know that the Red Sox medical staff, not to get gruesome here, but they experimented on a cadaver to make sure that they could duplicate the procedure on Schilling. That was the reason for all that blood in the ankle the other night. That's on the inside corner for strike 3. This game's first perfect inning. 1, 2, 3 they go. Manny Ramirez will hit right after Cabrera and right in front of his good buddy David Ortiz when we come back. All of us at Fenway Park would like to welcome the men and women in uniform serving around the world watching this broadcast on AFN, the American Forces Network. Thanks for all you do. We hope you're enjoying tonight's telecast to the hilt. Also a special welcome to all serving in the Canadian military service as well, watching on Rogers Sports Network. Game 1 of the 2004 World Series turning into a dandy. Bottom of the 5th inning here, 7-5 Boston. The Red Sox have coughed up a good chunk of a 7-2 lead. And here is Orlando Cabrera. He's been hit by a pitch, lined down, and he singled in a run. It ricochets away for a ball low. 1 ball and 1 strike on Cabrera. Orlando had a nice playoff run coming into the World Series, hitting .310 with 8 runs batted in. Had a pretty hot bat against the New York Yankees. A swing and a miss, and it's 1-2.
Talking about the armed forces, Dave, I was talking with Cal Eldred, a reliever for the St. Louis Cardinals last night, and his brother a couple of years ago just got out of the Marine Corps, but really enjoyed the MLB International broadcast when he was there.
Renteria on the charge, and one shortstop from Columbia sits down another.
We've had so many emails from men and women saying how much they enjoy it and how from time to time it keeps them going when they're out on deployment, knowing that when they get back, the World Series, postseason, All-Star game will be waiting on them.
It's Yawkey Way right outside Fenway. There are a lot of fans are mingling around.
Just so many things that you have to take in when you come to a ballpark, come to a baseball game here in Boston.
Well, it's a special place. The sights, the sounds, with the vendors working and hawking their wares outside.
And you got to see it all. I mean, you've got to go up on the Green Monster. You've got to go out into the bullpen. You have to go down and sign your name on pesky pole, and just looking around the neighborhood, just all of the different things. You just can't come to the ballpark, and you don't have to come to the ballpark and be happy if your team wins. This is every bit of an event as much as it is a baseball game coming to Fenway.
Especially in October. Game 1 of the series against the Cardinals. Manny Ramirez stokes that one fair, and it strikes the umpire. The ball will still be alive there, and rounding and holding to a lengthy single is Manny Ramirez.
Right when we told you that the left fielders, the outfielders of the Cardinals would have trouble with all of the different caroms and things that happen here, you got a veteran umpire of 21 years at the big league level letting this happen to him.
Jerry Davis.
I don't believe it would have mattered because Taguchi is so quick. And as you said earlier, Dave, the reason he's out there is because of his defense. But Jerry Davis has got to know what can happen there, and he cannot let that happen.
Now, even though it struck him, the ball is still in play, so had it taken a crazy bounce off Davis, Manny could have kept on going. Held to a single, and here's Ortiz. He has a 3-run homer and 2 walks in this one.
We need to say it again, though. Manny Ramirez has an RBI already.
Yeah, he does. That was on a fielder's choice in the 3rd inning, so he is in the RBI column after going 0 for the league championship in runs batted in. Probably the worst swing we've seen out of Ortiz in some time in the playoffs, and the count is 0-2.
Yeah, but do you see what the Cardinals love about Denny Herron? He will be in their starting rotation next year. You don't know if free agent Matt Morris will come back or will be signed. Woody Williams has an option that they may or may not pick up.
The fans chanting for Ortiz, Poppy, and it's down into the dirt, his nickname here in Boston. Matt Morris, by the way, will be the pitcher for the Cardinals in Game 2 here tomorrow night against Curt Schilling. Ortiz right now the people's choice, but Schilling got a huge warm reception when he was announced, along with all the Red Sox during the pregame festivities, after his courageous pitching performance in Game 6 on that badly damaged ankle.
Denny Herron's really fortunate that the guy who is in charge of his career as a pitching coach with the success and knowledge of Dave Duncan.
A little blooper into left. Taguchi converging on it. 2 down.
When I think about Dave Duncan, I think about all of the just projects that he has had over the years with Tony La Russa. When they were in Oakland, guys like Bob Welch, who had success early in their careers, but all of a sudden it had gotten away from him. There was Dave Stewart, there was Storm Davis, Scott Sanderson, and then when he came over to the Cardinals, he just continued to do the same thing, that being Duncan. Remember when Darryl Kyle struggled in Colorado, came over here, won 20 games with the Cardinals. Duncan is the pitching coach. Woody Williams, the same kind of thing.
Kevin Millar looking to atone for an error earlier tonight on a bad throw that skipped right into the dugout.
And the biggest one, it was Dave Duncan and Tony La Russa that converted Dennis Eckersley to a closer. Eckersley went to the Hall of Fame earlier this year.
Yeah, that was a pretty good move in there for a called strike. Duncan, a highly intelligent guy. I remember Tom Seaver, great New York Met, who won his 300th game as a member of the Chicago White Sox. Tony La Russa was the manager at the time, and Duncan was the pitching coach. And Duncan went out in the 9th inning of that game, which Seaver won for that 300th. But he was in a little trouble in that inning. And Duncan looked Seaver in the eye and said, "If you think I've come all the way out here to take you out of the game, you're crazy. Just turn around, walk right back to the dugout." And Seaver went on to win 300. Fouled back out of play by Millar. He has doubled, grounded out, and hit into a forced play tonight.
When I talked to Eckersley and Bob Welch and even Woody Williams last night about Dave Duncan, the first thing they say is his toughness and how he has the ability to instill that in his pitchers. And to me, that's saying that he teaches you to pitch in. He forces you to throw fastballs in.
Fought off by Millar. Of course, the Cardinals regularly among the league leaders in hit batsmen and bench clearing brawls and dust ups.
Well, you know, if you hit Albert Pujols, you know that one of your guys is going to get hit, and probably two. I mean, Tony has been that way for forever.
Ramirez at first base with 2 down. Grounded sharply, but a nice scoop by Rowland. Nice throw as well. No runs, 1 hit, 1 man left, and for Herron, 2 2/3 scoreless innings for St. Louis. So we have wrapped up 5 innings in Game 1 at Fenway Park. Moving on to the 6th. Boston ahead 7-5. Game number 1. That's a look at Faneuil Hall here in Boston. So many wonderful sights to see and history to absorb in this great city. And man, is it ever ready for the World Series. Finally back here at Fenway Park for the first time since 1986. Red Sox leading 7-5 here. We move ahead to the 6th inning. Tony Womack stepping in. We talked about Womack bouncing around a little bit. Certainly did last year, playing for Arizona, for Colorado, for the Cubs, and he had to shut it down 12 months ago because of that elbow surgery, Tommy John surgery. Very unusual for anyone other than a pitcher, but he had it done, and he missed the playoffs with the Cubs because of it. Rips that one to right. On the move Nixon, though, and makes the adjustment to make the catch. That was not an easy one to haul in, and the wind is playing tricks with those line drives, but Nixon made a fine play.
I honestly feel like it would have been a home run without that breeze that's blowing in so hard. Trot Nixon taking the perfect angle to get to this fly ball, knowing that it was going to come back to him. He had to wait because it was not only going to push the ball down, but it was going to push it back towards him. You can see there at the end how right at the last part he had to kind of angle back to that wall.
That brings up the catcher Mike Matheny, who has 2 RBIs tonight on a couple of sacrifice flies. Boy, that wind is gusting in.
Oh, you just check that flag, and you literally have to check it almost every pitch. Gusting right now towards the 3rd base dugout. From time to time, I have seen it blowing at the 1st base dugout. Outfielders just look over their shoulder, take a look at it, and know what that ball will do on that particular pitch.
See the higher flag, Terry Francona was talking about it before the game. That's the one that he says really dictates how the wind is howling, which way it's blowing. Although when we caught up to Francona, which was about, what, 5 o'clock this afternoon, he had not been outside all day.
Got here at the ballpark at what time?
She said 10 a.m., right? And he had not had time to step out of his office. A swing and a miss, and Matheny strikes out for out number 2. Well, keep up with all the latest postseason news and stats at MLB.com. Watch live game video at MLB TV. And you can shop for authentic playoff and team gear at MLB.com shop. Be sure to check out MLB.com, where baseball is always on. Send in your TV questions to us at that address on your screen. And as the playoffs progress, we'll do our very best to answer all of those, or some of them, or a good hunk of them on the air. And we're getting lots of them.
Well, we're only going to answer the ones that we know the answer to.
Well, that's right. That limits the list severely.
Don't make the questions real tough.
Oh, but get creative with it, and we'll, even if you just want to say hi. And how you doing in Boston? And have you been to Faneuil Hall and the Old North Church? And what have you had for Italian in the North End? Great food there.
And how far outside will this breaking ball from Bronson Arroyo be?
Fouled away by Taguchi. Base is empty here, 2 down in the 6th. 7-5 Red Sox.
Started out as a ball game between 2 veteran, experienced starting pitchers. A couple of kids on the mound now.
Gently hit, but trouble. Arroyo with a bare hand, off balance, not in time, and he tossed it into the dugout. Now that skips up into the crowd. It'll be an extra base for Taguchi on an ill-advised toss by one of those youngsters, Bronson Arroyo. And Taguchi is in scoring position for St. Louis.
Well, here's the biggest difference between these 2 ball clubs is overall team defense. Take a look at this year what happened. 54 unearned runs allowed only by the St. Louis Cardinals. 40 more led the American League by the Boston Red Sox. We have seen Millar throw a ball away. We see Bronson Arroyo throw a ball away. It would have been a lot higher number for the Boston Red Sox had on July the 31st they not been able to acquire that guy.
Orlando Cabrera. He is a vacuum cleaner out there. And here's another one in Edgar Renteria. Hitless tonight. He's 0 for 2. But he's won a Gold Glove. And he's already known the joy of the World Series. He started the '97 Classic with the Florida Marlins and had the game-winning hit in the 11th inning of Game 7, the RBI single to beat Cleveland. Now Veritek is starting to loosen up out in the bullpen area for a possible entrance into this game. The Red Sox #1 catcher stepped aside tonight for Mirabelli, who always catches Wakefield. But Wakefield was gone after 3 2/3.
It's a nice situation for Veritek, though. You know that from time to time he's going to need a day, and to have Mirabelli have a routine like that where every 5th day he's out there, well, Jason Veritek can plan ahead.
A base hit makes this a 1-run game. Renteria, a terrific opposite field hitter, and he really does covet the big spotlight of the World Series. Although he's coming off a cold National League championship, he was just 4 out of 28. Trying to hold up, but he went. Eddie Montague said he swung the bat, and it's 2-2.
How many times over the years have guys, they've come out of series where they faced Roger Clemens, and people said that offensively they're not swinging.
Not swinging a very good bat. Called a rocket slump.
It all started for the rocket slump right here in Boston.
Yeah, this is where the great Clemens began his Hall of Fame career. I'll bet there were more than a few Bostonians who were rooting for the Astros to make it to the World Series just to see Roger come back to town.
Well, kind of funny that Roger started the All-Star game for the National League team. He got the loss in that game, creating home field advantage for Boston.
Ripped into left. Ramirez won't get it. It's into the gap against the fence. Taguchi is in to score. Renteria with an RBI double. This is a one-run contest. Now 7-6 Boston. Renteria with 2 bases.
From the very first day he started playing at the big league level, people talked about the clutch hits that Edgar Renteria would provide for his team. He did it in Florida. He has done it here in St. Louis. Now the fact that Bronson Arroyo threw the ball away makes no difference. I think easily Taguchi would have scored on that double. So we do not have any unearned runs as of yet in this ball game, but nonetheless a couple of misplayed balls on the part of Boston.
So Wallace is out to chat with Arroyo. And speaking of conversations, these two both from Colombia, Renteria and Cabrera, 2 spectacular defensive shortstops, and getting a chance to enjoy each other's company in the World Series. Big stars back home, both of them.
Big production tonight from the bottom of Tony La Russa's lineup. Matheny with a couple of RBIs. Taguchi now with a run scored and an RBI.
Myers, Timlin in the pen for the Red Sox, and here's Larry Walker. He's a triple away from the cycle tonight. Ground ball. That one jumps up and down the line out of the reach of Millar. Renteria is in. This game is tied. Walker to second. Another hit for Larry Walker. A double to make him 4 for 4. He's also made some great plays in the outfield. And it's all tied up at Fenway. 7-7.
Hard to believe it's 7-2 in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Offensively, Boston not able to do anything the last couple of innings, and Larry Walker pretty much doing whatever he wants. Right down the line. Millar not above average defensively as far as range is concerned. He could not get there when it got past him. Easily Renteria scored to tie the game, and here's Pujols again.
Yeah, and how much longer can you hold this guy down? Tonight 0 for 2. He's been hit by a pitch. And how about Larry Walker in your 2-hole? 2 doubles, a homer, and a single. If you try and pitch around him, and Francona talked about it tonight, Pujols, Rolen, and Edmonds are ready to slaughter you. In there for strike. 0-2 on Albert.
They're doing different things with that number 2-hole in baseball these days, huh? Alex Rodriguez, Larry Walker.
Yeah, the days of the singles hitter and the bunt specialist are over in that position, at least in St. Louis and the Yankees. Outside. Larry Walker waited a long time to get his World Series chance, and he's making the most of it. He has just tied it at 7. Two and 2. The thing about Albert Pujols that makes him so scary, 331 during the season, 46 homers, 123 RBIs. Sut, he just doesn't strike out. He only whiffed 52 times.
And he gets better the more and more he gets to see a guy on the mound.
Two down. Good breaking ball, swung on and missed. Arroyo really snapped off a beauty there to strike out a great hitter. However, the St. Louis Cardinals scored twice. Larry Walker added again with his 2nd RBI and his 3rd extra base hits. We are all tied up 7 as we go to the last half of the 6th inning. Rick Sutcliffe, Dave O'Brien with you. It'll be Trot Nixon, followed by Bill Miller, and then we'll see if it'll be Doug Mirabelli due up in the inning. The Red Sox have had the bases loaded 5 different times. They've had 2 men on base 3 different times. They've had many chances to bust it wide open as it's fouled away by Nixon. Instead, it's the Cardinals chipping away. Boston had a 4-0 lead after 1, but the Cardinals scored in the second inning and in the third. The Red Sox had a 7-2 lead, but then the Cardinals got 3 in the fourth and just added 2 more in the top of this 6th inning. Bronson Arroyo giving up the hit to Larry Walker, who's making Fenway Park his personal World Series playground tonight. After a long career and in a couple of places like Montreal and Colorado where he did not get a whole lot of attention, although he did win an MVP and a couple of batting titles. Finally, he's on a much bigger stage with St. Louis and in the World Series, no less. Really getting a chance to show what a great player he is.
Most people thought he was going to get that opportunity in 1994. He was a member of the Montreal Expos, one of his teammates. Starting pitcher in Game 3 for these Boston Red Sox, Pedro Martinez. So many great players on that Montreal Expo team then, managed by Felipe Alou.
The 3-1 pitch rattled softly. Herron off the hill to throw out Trot Nixon. 1 man out. Bill Miller coming up. The other thing about Walker and his acquisition, it came after the trade deadline on August 4th, and they got him for cash and for a couple of minor league players. That was it.
Well, they asked him to accept the trade to the Los Angeles Dodgers earlier in the year, and he said no to that. Most teams could have claimed him on waivers, but they didn't feel like they had an opportunity to get him. It was a waste of time. Somehow, Walt Jocketty convinced Larry Walker that it was going to work out for not only the Cardinals and him.
Well, they didn't need him for the regular season, but they're using him big time in the World Series, and it is Varitek who has come to the on-deck area. He will bat for Mirabelli and then pick up the catching duties. I think Larry Walker also certainly chose the right sport. He was a pretty good hockey goalie in Canada and played for the Canadian national junior team in the baseball diamond.
How about how this Cardinal team was put together too? I mean, first of all, you take one of the best players from the Colorado Rockies and Larry Walker. You did it to begin with the Anaheim Angels when for Kent Bottenfield and Kennedy you got Edmonds. And then you picked the Philadelphia Phillies pocket with Scott Rowland for Polanco. Oh my goodness. Woody Williams for Ray Lankford, and then you get Ray Lankford back.
A strike on Bill Miller, 3-2. He has singled in a run and walked twice. He's been on base 3 times. Miller grew up in St. Louis, a big Cardinal fan. Punches that one foul. And the last World Series that he attended was in 1982. Bill Miller was 11 years old. He sat in the stands to watch the Cardinals against the Milwaukee Brewers at Busch Stadium. Said, I sat in the nosebleeds, but had the time of my life. High fly left center, driving back Edmonds, but room there underneath the green monster. He's got it. And
right,
they're 2 gone.
Into the teeth of that wind. We see the flag right above Edmonds, blowing directly into home plate. No chance of that baseball to get to the wall.
So Varitek will bat for the first time tonight. He comes into the ball game now in Mirabelli's position in the order, the number 8 hole. And Doug Mirabelli is finished for the rest of the evening. Terry Francona said, you know, we really don't have that many questions about Mirabelli's hitting ability. We think he can flat hit. And just because Wakefield comes out doesn't mean Varitek's going to come into the ball game, but he's going to get the switch hitter in here. And he takes ball 1.
Biggest thing about Varitek, along with the power that you get from him, is the on-base percentage. Hit .296 on the year, but had an on-base percentage of .390. Exceptional for anybody, let alone a catcher who does what he does for the team defensively.
The 1-1 from Herron. Tried to hold up. Looked like he went. The appeal. And it is a strike on the swing. 1-2.
think he didn't fool Varitek with his changeup. That's a swing. Crowd not happy, but call's right.
Danny Herron's got good stuff, and he has turned in a yeoman performance tonight. Kiko Calero is going to start throwing down in that bullpen, but Herron's been tremendous. Fouled off the foot of Varitek.
Good little tight slider. We've seen the splitter, which he uses for his changeup. That was a previous pitch that Varitek was way out in front of. Plus, he's got command of a fastball in the low 90s.
The difference between Herron and Arroyo. Herron has walked 3 men, Arroyo none. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. And the side is retired in 1-2-3 fashion. So we're finished up through 6 innings. Scott Rowland will hit when we return to Fenway with your scores: St. Louis 7 and Boston 7. Publications, reproductions, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of Major League Baseball is prohibited. Commissioner Bud Selig in attendance. He will be throughout the World Series 2004. Look now at the St. Louis Cardinal box score as they have fought back in this game to tie it at 7.
The one thing about it, when I look at it, 7 runs scored by the St. Louis Cardinals, yet nothing provided. The 0 for 6 with Pujols and Rowland. You know that won't continue.
The hurtful inning was the 4th when the Red Sox walked 3 in a row and they all scored. Total of 4 walks in that 4th inning as Wakefield came apart. Some changes now for Boston. Mike Timlin comes out of the bullpen, the right-hander, to take on Roland Edmonds and Sanders. And he has a new catcher as well. Varitek, after striking out moments ago, remains in to receive him.
I believe more than anything the reason Francona put Varitek into the ball game was to get this crowd back into it. They're in a little bit of shock right now with the 5 unanswered runs scored by the St. Louis Cardinals. He got a huge ovation when they announced him as being the catcher.
Rowland tonight is 0 for 3. He's popped up, been doubled up. He's also lined out to short. Rowland was the MVP candidate of the first order most of 2004. Then a calf injury slowed him for 14 games in September. By then, the Cardinals were clinching it, and it really didn't matter that much. But when he returned for the playoffs, he had a slow start. He was 0 for 12 against the Dodgers in the division series. But he reheated against the Astros in a league championship. He hit .310 with 3 home runs. Heat is on the minds of many in the Cardinal dugout on a very cold night in Boston.
Well, it used to be heat on that fastball end that Scott Rowland couldn't do anything about. But somehow Tony La Russa and his staff tightened up that hole inside of there. He's able to fight that pitch off now and wait on a pitcher to make a mistake.
Fly ball deep center field. But the wind knocks it down. And Damon makes the catch. 1 out.
He got ahead of him on the outer half of the plate with a good fastball on the first pitch. Maybe rolling a little bit over aggressive. Not a good pitch to swing at. But here's the pitch that always would get Scott Rowland out. He almost got to that ball. And then again on the 1-2 pitch out over the plate. He got good extension on it. But again hit it right in to the breeze and the wind. Johnny Damon with an easy play.
So now Timlin to square off against Edmonds, who has singled on a bunt. He's also walked and struck out. High fly to left. Damon moving over. Ramirez is there though, and Manny takes it for the 2nd out.
It'll get a little bit tougher to score runs now. You get to the Timlins and the Embreys and the Tavareses, followed by the Isringhausens and the Folks.
Yeah, and against a very hot Boston bullpen, I don't think that pen can pitch any better than it did in the League Championship Series victory over the Yankees. Every one of them out there virtually had a role in it.
I'm just amazed at how generous Boston has been tonight. They have given this ball game back to the St. Louis Cardinals and an opportunity for them to win it. All of the walks that have come around to score. You walk 3 consecutive guys that score in the top of the 4th inning when you got a 7-2 lead. That's not supposed to happen at this level.
Little dribbler. Timlin. Low throw, but it's dug out by Millar, who saved an error on the pitcher there. We are in the middle of the 7th inning. Time of the 7th inning break. Right now we'll throw it to the public address announcer at Fenway, Mr. Carl Bean.
By all of our servicemen and women currently stationed across the globe, we welcome the winner of the 2002 American Idol competition on Fox and platinum recording artist Kelly Clarkson, who will now lead us in this evening's presentation of God Bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Thank you, Kelly Clarkson.
Bottom 7 coming your way. That means the Red Sox are up. Let's see how they've done so far in the Red Sox box score.
David Ortiz right out of the chute with that 3-run homer in the first inning. Millar with a double after that. He scored on a single by Bill Miller. 3 more runs were added in the 3rd inning, but they have been shut down. The last 3, Danny Herron was on the mound then. It's Kiko Calero who will take over here in the bottom of the 7th.
29-year-old from Puerto Rico, who has been very, very good out of La Russa's bullpen. Bellhorn and Damon and then Cabrera test him first.
He knows how to pitch. Good command of the fastball. There's a lot of knowledge at his game. Playing winter ball over in Puerto Rico, the Dominican, Venezuela, Mexico.
First one to Bellhorn is inside for a ball. A single, a walk, and a fly out for Bellhorn so far tonight. This was the play by Timlin. Nearly threw it away at the end of the inning.
Well, they've thrown a couple of them away. Timlin knows that Millar picked him up there. Millar, too, threw one away. Bronson Arroyo threw one away. Tim Wakefield threw a lot of pitches that weren't in the strike zone. It's been more about giveaways than it's been about takeaways tonight for Boston.
Yeah, because the Red Sox had leads of 4-0 and 7-2. They're all gone. This one tied 7-7 in the 7th.
That's a big league fastball there. A 2-0 count. You throw a fastball in or near the strike zone, and a big league hitter cannot put it in play. There's velocity, there's late movement, or there's deception.
But he's gone to 3-1 on Bellhorn as the Red Sox look for that leadoff man. And Mark Bellhorn, despite the high number of strikeouts, 177 during the season, he also took 88 walks. Wasn't waiting around for ball 4 there, and it's 3-2.
He also has taken 17 pitchers deep. He's one of those guys. He's going to be on base. He's going to get on base once or twice a night. You make a mistake, he'll hurt you. This guy hadn't made many mistakes, huh?
The Red Sox have taken 6 walks in the game, and there's another one. So Bellhorn is on. It's the 4th time in 7 innings the Red Sox have had the leadoff man aboard.
Ray King, the only left-hander in Tony La Russa's bullpen. We know how Tony La Russa likes to go left-hander, left-hander, right-hander, right-hander. With Steve Klein not being available, it really limits the opportunities that he has to make a certain move to make a difference.
That Klein hurts. Here's Johnny Damon. Time asked for by Matheny. He'll trot out to the hill.
I wonder if this is not to get King into the ball game for this at bat. Tony might be a little bit frustrated that he didn't get King up and throwing in time. King's a veteran guy. It won't take him long to get ready, but that might be what that trip to the mound by Mike Matheny was all about.
Yeah, La Russa hollered out to Matheny, you go out and talk to Kiko Calero here to allow King a little more time, but Damon will hit against the righty here. And he takes a strike.
He's not going to bunt. We saw him try to do that against the Yankee. He looked worse than, a pitcher that had been in the American League his whole life trying to do it. Popped that bunt up to the catcher. Actually ended up kind of being a positive play in a weird way for Boston. That's when Quantrill hurt his knee.
Pulled wickedly but foul. And Damon's in the hole 0-2. Johnny Damon 2 for 4. By this point in game 1 of the American League Championship Series, he had struck out 4 times.
He's not your prototypical leadoff guy. I mean, he's not going to bunt. Not going to take a lot of pitches. But he produces. He just does it his own way.
Let it go, and it missed the corner. 1-2. Tied up 7-7 in the bottom of the 7th inning. Game 1 of the 100th World Series. Red Sox and Cardinals, league champions each in 7 great games in both series. Calero taking a lot of time, and Damon asks for time.
And that's all sent in from Tony La Russa. We've seen that for a long time. He'll have the pitcher just hold the baseball to see if the base runner will tip his hand as to what he might be doing. He'll have him step off real quick.
Broken bat, soft roller. Womack has one play. So it had the effect of a sacrifice bunt. Damon grounds out. Bellhorn to scoring position now for the Red Sox.
Scoring position, and you got some guys coming up that have all driven in runs. Damon himself with an RBI, but Cabrera with an RBI. Manny Ramirez and Ortiz after that. A productive out. Cost you a baseball bat. They've got plenty of those down there in that dugout.
That'll send up Orlando Cabrera, the shortstop. In the first inning, he was hit by a pitch by Woody Williams that glanced off his shoulder and struck him on the chin. He would later come around to score. He has also driven in a run with an RBI single since then, so he's just fine. Now trying to pick up a go-ahead RBI here in the 7th inning. Ball 1. Cabrera wearing that helmet with all the pine tar obscuring the Boston logo. Pops that one up, but back out of play. And no chance for Matheny. Tonight, the Red Sox have had 12 opportunities with men in scoring position. That's quite a bit, and they have 4 hits. And after numerous chances in the first 4 innings, the Red Sox have a runner in scoring position and have had for the first time in 3 innings. Cabrera, the last man to get a hit with a man in scoring position, way back in the 3rd. 2-1.
I don't know what makes me think of this, but I played with George Bell, a slugger for Toronto Blue Jays. I played with him in Chicago, and he made a comment to me. He says, you know, Latin hitters always hit Latin pitchers. I said, what do you mean by that? He said, well, you know, you watch. And I have. I mean, over the years, he says, they don't throw the fastball in. And as a hitter, you know that. Sitting on that ball out over the plate and just watching this whole at bat here. Cabrera's had a good at bat, laid off pitches that others might have chased. And, you know, I thought George Bell was just trying to be funny. He might be right.
Well, let's see what Calero comes up with here. The right-hander from Puerto Rico against the right-hand hitter from Colombia.
Yeah. Johnny Damon got a fastball in, shattered his bat.
He walked him. Second one in the inning accepted by the Red Sox, and the 8th in the game.
I will say one thing, George Bell didn't have any problem hitting off me either.
Oh, you weren't alone, partner.
He got a lot of people.
I seem to remember Mr. Bell, especially on opening days, coming up with incredible performances, like 3 homer games. Always took off on opening day, big time on pitchers.
Traded for Sammy Sosa.
Yeah. Oops. Which one do you want to have back? So Duncan, along with the catcher Matheny, going over what to do here on Manny Ramirez.
I think he'd like to have the Mark Bellhorn bat at bat back. That's where this inning all got started. King has to be ready to go in the bullpen now. Tony La Russa, and seen him over the years, he's not going to bring him in to face a right-hander. But if Ortiz were to come up and Tony La Russa decided not to intentionally pass Ortiz, well, you would see his only left-hander.
Manny, you could argue, is the most popular Boston Red Sox player. If he knocks one out of the ballpark right here, he wins any vote in a walk. And he is overdue to do exactly that. Ball 1. He did not homer through the entire American League Championship, and tonight he is 2 for 4. He'll get plenty of MVP votes after 43 homers and 130 RBIs during the season. You get Ortiz on deck. He's going to see some strikes. Ramirez, the 1-0. Line shot center field. Base hit. Bellhorn to third, rounding. Edmonds a good arm, throwing offline, and the run is in. And now Manny is hung up between first and second. Meanwhile, Cabrera going back to third, and everybody's safe. A run in. So no big fly, but Manny Ramirez delivers the go-ahead run, and Boston leads it 8-7.
Dave, you talked about MVP votes. This year included, and the last 5 years straight, Manny Ramirez has been in the top 10 in the MVP every single year. You talk about consistent production. You talk about providing a big run here right when it looked like the St. Louis Cardinals would come back and win this ball game. Manny Ramirez has other thoughts.
An RBI single to put the Red Sox back in front. He's driven in 2 runs tonight. He knocks Calero out of the ball game. St. Louis goes to the pen. 8-7 Boston.
Bullpen to bring in his only left-hander available, Ray King. Well, you know what? Mike Scioscia did the exact same thing in Game 3. 2 outs, David Ortiz at home plate. He brought in Jarrett Washburn. David Ortiz hit the ball out of the ballpark, sweeping the Anaheim Angels, setting up that great series against the Yankees. Here's the numbers as you look at them. The one thing that jumps out to me are the home runs. You know, the 250 average, not near what he does off of right-handers, but nonetheless, he can still hit the ball with authority, regardless of which hand the guy throws with on the mound.
Well, you got a right-hander, Woody Williams, for an absolute laser beam home run in the first inning, a 3-run homer to get the Red Sox started. They scored 4 in the first, led 7-2. Cardinals came back to tie. Now Boston leads 8-7 as King takes to the hill with runners at first and third and 1 out. Ball 1 on Ortiz.
This is kind of that in-between infield. This is what they call the number 2 level. Number 1 would be your normal depth. Number 3 would be all the way in, which means the play on a ground ball to you would come home. Tony La Russa at that number 2 now, possibly to turn a double play.
Sharply, and that one came up off Womack. It rolls into right field. Cabrera scores. They hold it first and second, and Womack, already playing with a sore back, had that one come up and ricochet of him, something fierce.
This could be a throat problem. This could, I mean, a collarbone thing. It hit him so quick. It was hard to see from the first shot exactly where he got hit with this ball.
It'll be a base hit and an RBI for Ortiz, but the concern now is for Tony Womack, who got absolutely drilled by the sharp ground ball by Ortiz. Another look.
Oh my goodness, I think that is his neck right now, and you worry about him being able to breathe. Larry Weinberg, the longtime trainer for Tony La Russa, out there right away. And here's where you get in trouble, Dave. We talked about that number 2 depth. If you're all the way back, it's an easy play. If you're all the way in, it would have been a different hop. You possibly could have kept the run from scoring. But being at that in-between level, you put yourself in a spot where there's a lot of traffic. There's a lot of guys that have run the base paths right where Womack was standing. Whether that's what caused the ball to come up or what, we don't know, but that was a horrible bounce.
And we're not sure where it bounced. Was it under the throat or just up against the chest? I got to figure if it got him in the throat, there's no way he can continue. So maybe he got that chin down. We'll try and pick it up again. He's going to try and walk it off and remain in the game.
You know, Tony La Russa wants to keep him in. He's due up first in the top of the 8th inning.
I think it came up and caught him in the upper left chest and then dribbled off into the outfield.
I think everything had to do with the number 2 depth that they were at. If they're all the way back, I mean, you could have easily turned that double play no faster than David Ortiz is. But instead, Tony La Russa kind of, you know, you kind of take that middle road. You sit on the middle of the fence. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not.
That's going to do it for Womack. And again, this is a guy who's been through an awful lot. Tommy John surgery. Came back quickly from that to play this season. Played very well this year. Troubled by a bad back here late. Marlon Anderson's going to go in for him and play second base. And now this, and another look.
You know, that could be a collarbone kind of thing. Very fortunate, though. It did not make contact with his face or his throat. There it is there. You see the number 2 level. If you're all the way in on the grass, it's an easy play. If you're back at normal depth, it could have been an easy hop. But instead, it comes right off where the grass stops and the dirt starts. Womack with no chance to make that play. He did everything he possibly could.
So a lengthy delay here to attend to Tony Womack, and as mentioned, Marlon Anderson is the new second baseman for St. Louis.
David Ortiz may need a new mantle at his house when he's done with this postseason.
He's driven in 4 runs tonight, and he's been on base 4 times here in game 1. Manny Ramirez at second. The batter Kevin Millar, and Boston leads 9-7. You know, these two ball clubs met last year right here at Fenway Park in June in an interleague series. St. Louis won 2 out of 3, but all of the games were high scoring in one way or another. The Cardinals winning 8-7 and 9-7. Boston's win was 13-1. So get used to seeing a lot of runs and a lot of base runners in the 2004 World Series. David Ortiz with 4 RBIs tonight. That ties a Red Sox World Series record. As Cal Eldred is loosening in the bullpen for the Cardinals. Carl Yastrzemski in game 2 of the '67 World Series also had a 4 RBI game for Boston.
Yeah, it's throwing out the first pitch tonight.
Yeah.
And as he should have, he entered the field down that left field line.
Yeah. His spot. Yeah. That was a wonderful moment here at Fenway. The crowd cheered every step of the way. Carl Yastrzemski, a bit reclusive, does not spend a lot of time in public, doesn't come to a lot of Red Sox games, but his number is always here. Number 8. A look back earlier tonight. Carl Yastrzemski, Red Sox hero, all over the record books after a Hall of Fame career, throwing out the first pitch tonight.
One of the big thrills of my playing career, Carl Yastrzemski asked me to sign a dozen baseballs on the last day of the year back in the early 80s, and I didn't realize what they were for till later. He hit his last home run off of me.
The last home run of Yaz's career came off Rick Sutcliffe.
That's the truth.
I did not know that. Did you hang one on purpose, son?
No, heck no. I don't want to tell everybody I got Yaz out. All those old guys picked on me, man. Willie McCovey with his last RBI off of me. I struggled early in my career.
Yeah, I got you. The 0-2 pitch will not be made. King will step off the rubber.
Well, this is a free shot here for Kevin Millar. I mean, if Tony La Russa had 2 left-handers, if Steve Klein were healthy and on the roster, he would not, Millar, have an opportunity to face a left-handed pitcher. Tony would have gone to Eldred, and then he would have had Klein come in to face Trot Nixon, the next hitter. But he only has 1 left-hander, and then that's not the way Tony La Russa wanted to have his bullpen set up. But he has to sit back and watch and hope that King can retire the right-handed hitter.
Millar looking to pull everything here. Pulls another one near his dugout in the direction of Tony La Russa over near the St. Louis dugout. 0-2. Millar 1 for 4 with a first inning double. Ramirez and Ortiz on base with 1 out. The Red Sox have scored twice here in the 7th to open up a 2-run lead in game 1, a 9-7 advantage.
That might be the best play we see in a Red Sox uniform tonight. Look at this kid come from nowhere.
Rangy.
Yeah.
One and 2 on the number 5 hitter.
What do you want to bet you don't see a ball get past Matheny this whole series?
Well, I'm not going to bet against that.
He's as good as there is in the game. Look at his position. Look at how quick he gets down. Look at the hands, the upper body tilted towards the field.
Popped up and playable. Here comes rolling down the line, but there's Matheny to make the catch. 2 away. The runners hold. 10 pitch at bat, but Millar retired.
Now Trot Nixon will walk back to the dugout. And I'm guessing that Tony La Russa will go to the mound. Cal Eldred certainly ready by now in his bullpen if that's the direction Tony goes. But you know, King couldn't get the left-hander out, but he got the right-hander out.
Gabe Kapler scheduled to hit now for Trot Nixon. And here comes the bundled up La Russa to make the pitching change. So the wheels are turning here in game number 1, with Boston having just forged into the lead again, 9-7. The Red Sox have runners at first and second base and 2 men out. Ortiz with another RBI. He has 4 of them tonight and 19 in the postseason. So Ray King is leaving the hill, and we'll be right back at Fenway Park with your score: the Red Sox 9 and the Cardinals 7. You talk about a rockin' national anthem. Steven Tyler of Aerosmith belting it out here to the delight of about 35,000 in Boston several hours ago, and he's hanging around for the game. He's turned out to be quite a baseball fan. Of course, a big Red Sox guy, raised in this area.
You know, over the years, a lot of us have to make adjustments. We can't do the same things we did when we were younger. You become a different type pitcher. You know, I was a power guy, and you're an off-speed guy. I mean, he hadn't changed a bit, man. I mean, he reached back and hit, I don't know how many different notes he hit.
Screamed it out tonight. Maybe a good luck charm for the Boston Red Sox. James Taylor is going to sing the national anthem tomorrow night for game 2. And Donna Summer is going to sing God Bless America. Well, runners at first and second for Kapler facing Cal Eldred. He delivers a strike. Boston up 9-7 with 2 down. By the way, an update on Tony Womack. He was struck by that hard ground ball in the left collarbone. He has been taken for precautionary x-rays.
He was hit so hard that thing could be broken. He's out there already at less than 100%. That lower back got him in game 6 against the Houston Astros. Was able to play through that tonight up until that point.
The righty's pitch misses away. We talked about the 19 RBIs by Ortiz in this postseason. 19 runs batted in now after the ground ball off of Womack. That ties the major league record for runs batted in a single postseason. So you were talking about making some more room on that mantle.
Yeah.
That'd be a good idea.
We're far from done. He's going to get a few more chances.
Yeah, this is game 1 of the World Series.
You know, for me too, it's been Manny Ramirez as well. I mean, he has just consistently been on base. He has not scored a run as of yet, but he's created a lot of opportunities.
The 2-2 is on the inside corner for strike 3. And that's all for Boston. But the Red Sox do tack on 2. And at the end of 7, it's now the Boston with 12 hits. St. Louis has 7. And the Red Sox are up by 2 at Fenway Park. So Timlin about to pitch into his second inning of relief work. And Marlon Anderson bats for the first time. He came on to relieve the injured Tony Womack at second base. He grounds that one right at Bellhorn for an easy stop and an out. The man he threw to is the new first baseman, Doug Minkiewicz, taking over there. There's also a new right fielder for Boston, and that is Gabe Kapler, who just struck out moments ago. So Francona going to that bench, and it's a very deep Red Sox bench, and it's paid off big time for him.
It's even a little bit deeper than it was against the Yankees. Youkilis, the infielder, mostly a third baseman, added. Mendoza taken out of the bullpen. And the reason Terry Francona did that, he told us before the game, you can have, starting pitcher down there.
Up the middle, Matheny with a single.
Derek Lowe listed in the bullpen as being available tonight if he were to have been needed. And Bronson Arroyo, we already saw him come into the ball game.
Well, we're going to see Roger Cedeno enter the game now as a pinch hitter. Game 6 hero Derek Lowe, game 7 I should say, of the American League Championship Series.
Really the best pinch hitter all year long for Tony La Russa was Marlon Anderson. Hit the ball hard, but right at Bellhorn for the first out here in the top of the 8th.
Jason Marquis is going to run here for Matheny, a starter for Tony La Russa. And so Matheny heads to the dugout, and Francona heads to the mound here for Boston. So 1-out single in the 8th inning. That'll do it for Timlin. Alan Embry will be called upon now, so the left-hander to enter this Game 1 of the World Series. Embry out of the bullpen for Boston, facing Roger Cedeno, the pinch hitter. He looks it down and in, ball 1.
Reason for Terry Francona here, not so much that he prefers Embry over Timlin, but 280 as compared to 190. The difference in the batting average for Cedeno as a switch hitter. A much more dangerous and better hitter from the left side.
Marquis leading at first base as he runs for Matheny, who had singled. And a count 1-1 strike. Matt Morris will pitch tomorrow night against Curt Schilling in Game 2. Morris, who has been roughed up as of late in postseason play. The only thing roughed up about Schilling is that right ankle, but he was brilliant in his last start against the Yankees in the American League Championship. 2-1.
I'll tell you one thing. People question Joe Torre why he didn't have Derek Jeter and some of the other guys try to test that ankle, bunt for a base hit. You will see a lot of it tomorrow night.
The Red Sox, should they win Game 1, however, are set up pretty well, sitting in a great position for Game 2. Little looper into right field. That's going to drop in front of Kapler for a base hit. Slipping and falling Marquis as he hit the deck at second base. An awkward play as he went down in a heap. And now they're going to find out if he's all right. You're talking about a starting pitcher out there.
You know, and you're talking about a guy that's just been sitting on that bench all night long, and you send him out there to do something he's not accustomed to do. I think he's okay. I know one thing, if he's not injured, he's certainly embarrassed, because this is, I mean, I think right now somebody should go out there and have him put his arms out and see if he can touch his nose and maybe stand on one foot.
Wow. Not graceful. But Marquis apparently all right. The only thing hurt his pride. Over there with Brian Gorman, the second base umpire. Well, Folk is going to come out of the bullpen right now for the Boston Red Sox. They are going to be bringing in their often used closer here in the 8th inning with only one man out and a couple of base runners.
Well, it's all about right now. You've got Edgar Renteria, who's already proven to be clutch with the double in his last at bat. Up there is the go-ahead run.
Folk was sensational, although he threw a lot of pitches in the American League Championship against the Yankees. He was a key man. As you look at his postseason totals, a 0.00 ERA so far.
And that's over the course of 7 appearances. And we're not talking about mop-up innings. We're talking about every one of them being with the game on the line. He has thus far been almost perfect.
Hey, Game 2 coming up tomorrow night from Fenway Park. We'll be right here at Old Fenway to bring you the second game of the 2004 World Series. Sunday, October 24th at 7:30. Live coverage of the World Series right here on Major League Baseball International. Part of October. 8 teams, 1 champion, and only 2 teams left to decide that championship here in 2004. Those are your starters. Matt Morris on your left, Curt Schilling on your right. And they will go to war in the second game of the series. So Folk continuing his warm-up tosses here, and a couple of men are on base now, and Marquis and Cedeno. If they both score, this game is retied. Edgar Renteria last time up in the 6th inning. He wound up with an RBI double and then later scored himself.
He drove in a run, and then he scored a run. The very next hitter, Larry Walker, with a double. Renteria did not have a hit or a run scored or RBI until that at bat. But this is a lot like Derek Jeter, his time of the year. Renteria not in the postseason near as often, not on as big a stage as Derek Jeter, but nonetheless, this shortstop has produced, and he also has a World Series ring.
So Renteria to step in here with one man out. Now we've seen Marquis has some issues running the bases, but Cedeno has good speed, and he represents, Cedeno does, the tying run. Folk is ready. Renteria is set. 9-7 the Red Sox here in the 8th inning. Tony La Russa said before the game, if his Cardinals need any further reminder about how big this series is and what it all means, he's going to have Renteria walk around the clubhouse flashing his 97 World Series ring from the Marlins.
Anybody thinks about being tired right now, there's no time for fatigue.
Two on, one out. Running up to bunt, and he takes a strike. It's 1-1.
You can do that when the guy behind you is already 4 for 4 on the night, that being Larry Walker. That was not a sacrifice bunt attempt, as we have seen already. That was trying to bunt for a base hit. I think Renteria was looking off speed. He got something he wasn't looking for. He just simply pulled the bat back.
Swing and a miss. 1-2.
88 miles an hour.
'88 and up.
And you know, watching Folk as we have for, you know, this whole postseason and even during the regular season, that fastball usually right where he wants it.
And then he can come back with a deadly changeup. Popped him up, but that'll twist toward the stands and out of play. Against St. Louis, and have shown that tonight with a terrific comeback. They're a tough team to beat on the road. La Russa's team had the best road record in the majors. The 1-2. He buried it, and a good stop by Varitek. 2-2.
I was a little bit surprised that you would send Marquis in to pinch run. If that's a tying run or the go-ahead run, I think it is important to make that move and have a guy that's maybe a step quicker than what Matheny would have been. But you grab the lead right now. I just feel like there's a comfort zone for the bullpen for the St. Louis Cardinals with Matheny back there. That won't happen now.
And I think Marquis has shown on a couple of occasions, yet not just tonight, that he struggles on the bases. There's a base hit into left. Ramirez picks it up, and they're going to be loaded up. And now the throw coming in all the way to the plate. A tag. He's safe. He got in. He scored. Cedeno had taken a big turn and started racing to third, and that forced Marquis to keep on coming. He was held up over there, but then he raced in, and that makes it 9-8.
Well, another defensive mistake on the part of the Boston Red Sox almost turned into a big out. Manny Ramirez not able to come up with that ball cleanly. That's when Jose Oquendo, the third base coach, put up the stop sign. But when Manny had problems with it, that's when it looked like Marquis just took off on his own. Manny picks it up. He gets a perfect throw to home. One hop. Varitek thought he had him out. Francona argued, but to no avail.
So an error charged to Ramirez in left. It's the third Boston error in tonight's game. And here comes Larry Walker, who's been tearing the cover off it all night. He's 4 for 4. A double, a homer, a single, and another double, and he's driven in 2.
Take a look at it again. There's a base hit between the third baseman and shortstop. There's a stop sign. But you see Marquis looked over his shoulder. He saw the ball get past Manny, and to me, that's when he just took off on his own. Varitek thought he had to tag.
0-1 up around the shoulder of Larry Walker. 1 ball, 1 strike. Another look at the play at the plate.
Veritek's not going to move. We know that. Look at Eddie Montague, right in perfect position to get the best look at making the call he can get. Look how he swings out there, not to let Varitek avoid him.
So Marquis scores the run to cut the lead to 1. In the National League Championship Series, Marquis singled and on his own tried to stretch it into a double on Lance Berkman, and Berkman threw him out. But Marquis scores here. 2 on for Walker and a swing and a miss.
Such a big advantage for pitchers when hitters have not seen a whole lot of you. Varitek doesn't argue very often. He's out. I mean, Eddie Montague got into the perfect position, but you can see why Jason Varitek wanted that call.
Fly ball. Here comes Ramirez on a long run, a slide. Oh, and it gets away from him. It rolls into foul territory. He goes to pick it up. Cedeno is in, and the game is tied. This one gets away, but the runners will hold at second and third. Manny Ramirez cannot make the catch, and he's having an awful time of it here in the 8th inning. And this game is tied at 9.
Right when you put in a defensive right fielder, you might have added a left fielder here. The second time Manny got in trouble, he went to slide on a ball there was no need to. All of a sudden, I can't believe he's not hurt. Take a look at what happens with his knee. Oof. He goes down. The turf does not give as he expected it to. The ball came out of his glove. It has to go as another error.
It is. And he's 7. He's made 2 of them in the inning. And it looked like he had hyperextended the knee when you first looked at it. Well, now this will be an intentional pass of Pujols as the Cardinals, in what has turned into a wild game 1, have tied the game at 9. The Red Sox have made 4 errors.
Manny Ramirez is really working that knee. He's trying to shake it out. As sore as it is right now, it's going to be a lot worse when he wakes up in the morning.
An intentional pass of Pujols. All those errors racking up for Boston, and a lot of mistakes for the Red Sox.
Well, let's go back to the very first one they made in the 4th inning. Here comes the throw. There's Millar. He had plenty of time to get Sanders. If he pulls the ball out cleanly, he did not. He threw it into the Cardinal dugout. And then we go to the 6th inning. No reason to even make this throw. Montanaro throws it down the line. It puts another runner in scoring position. There's a ball by Millar. He did not get a real good jump at it. A double for Larry Walker.
And here's Roland. He pops it up. First pitch swinging. Miller with the infield fly in effect makes the catch for the second out. Roland is 0 for 5. And the base is still loaded here for St. Louis.
Roland has got to be frustrated there. Maybe the pressure of the World Series, the fastball in. We talked about that. That's the pitch that he was able to handle last year, and then even more so this year. He was not able to handle it then. This looks like the old Scott Rolen not being able to handle that pitch.
So that'll send up Jim Edmonds with a Cardinal at every base. The game tied at 9. And another lead having slipped out of the Red Sox hands. They've led 4-0, 7-2, and 9-7, and blown them all with some awful defense. And his ball 1 on Edmonds. So in terms of how the game has been played, between the errors and all the walks, it's no classic. But it is a dandy on the scoreboard. And who's going to win it is anybody's guess.
Top of the 8th, bases loaded, 2 out, score tie.
Now St. Louis just keeps fighting back, don't they? Red Sox are helping them out with all the lapses, especially Manny Ramirez.
Well, and the lapses too on the pitching staff. Wakefield with 3 consecutive walks in the 4th inning with a 7-2 lead. Welcome to the world of the Boston Red Sox.
Right through there for a strike, and it's 1-2 on Edmonds, who is the big hero in St. Louis's last 2 National League Championship Series wins over Houston. This crowd wants to see a third out in the inning, but also someone pick up a ground ball. Got him looking on the inside corner. Strike 3 called. They leave them loaded.
That's his good buddy Jim Edmonds. Remember earlier when he looked disgusted at a call that Eddie Montague made on the very first pitch of the at-bat. He takes a call, 3rd strike again.
Once again, he arrived in Boston. He can give and he can take away. He gives with that bat. He takes away defensively. Not sure why he decided to slide on a play that, for all the world, looked like a guy hyperextended his knee. And at least for now, he's not getting any treatment and staying in that dugout, so you assume he's well enough to continue to play.
Well, the whole key for Manny is just to drive in more runs than he lets in. He's let one in tonight, and he's driven one in. Hard to understand why he would dive for that ball. I mean, he got there in plenty of time. Sure, it's a trickier outfield than normal because of the wind blowing so hard, but he got to that ball in plenty of time. It was just a mistaken judgment on him trying to slide.
Made a couple of errors. He does have 2 RBIs in this game. And here's Bill Miller facing Julian Tavares, the slender right-hander who recently suffered a broken hand, his non-pitching hand, during the league championship series against Houston. There's also a new left fielder, and that is Roger Cedeno, and a new catcher, Yadier Molina, of the catching Molina brothers.
Are there any more of them?
Apparently there's a whole bunch of them, and they're all darn good.
Jose, a backup catcher for the Anaheim Angels. His brother Benji, the Gold Glove catcher that plays every day for Mike Scioscia's team. A lot of people would like to have Jose as their everyday catcher. This is the youngest of the 3 brothers.
Bottom of the 8th inning at Fenway Park. A strike on Miller. A 9-9 tie and a zany game. Boston with 12 hits. St. Louis has 10. The St. Louis pitching staff has walked 6. They've hit a batter, and of all those men who reached without benefit of a hit, 5 have scored. Pulled to the right side, a friendly hop for Anderson, who throws out Bill Miller. 1 man out.
I think it would be fair to describe Tavares as kind of zany.
Yes, indeed.
He's a little bit different. He's always had a great arm. From Santiago, the Dominican Republic, 31 years of age. In '99, he was with the Giants. 2000, the Rockies, with the Cubs in 01, the Marlins in 02, the Pirates in 03. A great year for the Cardinals this year, but you got to figure he's going to be somewhere else in 05.
Well, he won Game 6 of the league championship against Houston. Coming up big, recovering from that broken hand in the process, which is his glove hand. Busted that in frustration, Kevin Brown style, after a poor outing during the playoffs.
You watch how tender he is on the throwback from Molina because of that broken hand.
Varitek lets it go, and it's across for a strike, 1-1. He's only had 1 at bat tonight. He struck out. That was in the 6th inning. This is some game. The Cardinals have been flawless defensively. They have not made an error. Poked deep short. Bobbled by Renteria. And just as we say, the Cardinals have been flawless. Renteria can't dig that out, although it ought to be a base hit. And Varitek is safely on at first.
I agree with you. Jason Varitek runs a lot better than you would guess when you look at him, how big and strong he is. He had 10 stolen bases during the regular season for Boston. Renteria knew that when he went back to that point there trying to get it on a better hop. If he didn't come up with it cleanly, it was going to be a base hit. Varitek hustling down the line. Look at him go. He sees it right now, got his head down. This could go either way. I mean, it's a difficult call.
And they're going to charge an error on Renteria. So Varitek with no single, but he's aboard here for Mark Bellhorn here in the bottom of the 8th in a 9-9 tie. The first error charged to the Cardinals. Tough call there. That's an above average effort play. Inside corner for strike.
Completely different styles for these two managers, wouldn't you agree? With the success that they've had, they know their club. Tony La Russa, he's going to put his stamp on about every ball game. He's going to move infields in. He's going to bring left-handed relievers in for left-handed hitters. He's going to do some things a little bit different. He's going to bunt. He's going to hit and run. Francona very seldom really does anything. I mean, he will insert a pinch runner from time to time. He can't do that now, though, because he has already used up his backup catcher. Mirabelli started the ball game.
Terry Francona reminds me in his managerial style a lot of the managers defeated. Joe Torre. Just kind of allow you guys to play. Let the game dictate the few moves you will make, but let your guys decide it. Swinging a high fly ball down the right field line near that foul pole, but it breaks off to the right and out of play. That was pushed off by the wind, which is still blowing in hard. 0-2 on Bellhorn. With that keep the faith sign high above Fenway. It's been up there all summer and now into autumn. 35,000 on here tonight for game 1 of the series. The 0-2.
Tony La Russa was talking about Molina earlier in the year, saying he got a good look at him not this past spring but the spring before that. Joe Girardi, scheduled to be their backup catcher, was hurt a lot in spring training, so it was a young Molina that got a lot of experience at the big league level, so be it in spring training, and an opportunity for Tony and his coaching staff to watch the guy. So they knew what they had coming.
Bellhorn, good power, waiting on a 1-2 pitch. Flies that one to right. Did he hook it too much? It's down the line. It strikes the foul pole. It's gone. It's gone. A 2-run homer from Bellhorn. He did it at Yankee Stadium. He struck the foul pole. He's done it at Fenway. And Boston leads again 11-9.
Well, he hit the 3-run homer in the top of the 4th inning in game 6 to give Boston a 4-0 lead. He homered again in his last at bat at Yankee Stadium in game 7. When you're hot, you're hot.
And he's suddenly on fire.
I don't hear this crowd chanting Pokey Reese anymore, do you? Boy, did they want him bad when Bellhorn struggled.
Little pop. Renteria out. Cedeno in. Renteria hauls it in for the second out.
You could kind of understand it, Dave. I mean, Bellhorn was 3 for 21 till he hit that homer in game 6. And I can't even remember the 3 hits. Nothing was really hit hard. This ball was crutched to get it out with that wind blowing in. I guess Manny's knee's okay. He was the first one out of the dugout.
And somewhere in Fenway tonight, Johnny Pesky is smiling broadly off the pesky pole. And the 85-year-old former Red Sox infielder has to be delighted with this. Tavares, his own body English, could not push it foul. Here's Cabrera. Boston up 11-9. The question is, can they hold this lead? They have blown leads of 4-0, 7-2, and 9-7.
Right when everybody thought Boston was going to miss the bat of Todd Walker, all of a sudden Mark Bellhorn's bat woke up.
I'll tell you what, Francona deserves a lot of credit for sticking with Bellhorn. There are a lot of people that wanted to see the manager of the Red Sox dump him, as you mentioned, in favor of Pokey Reese or somebody else. And he said, no, he drove in 82 runs for me during the season. He moves him up and down the lineup, second or ninth or whatever.
He said, I can't hit him any lower than that.
And for a while.
And we said, why are you hitting?
Yeah.
Is he hitting at all? He's not hitting. Well, he told us that Pokey Reese was supposed to have done something earlier in the year. He didn't do it. And Terry Francona stuck with his guy.
A little chopper off the handle. And Rolen is on the money for out number 3. Mark Bellhorn is homered now in 3 consecutive playoff games. All of a sudden, he's everybody's hero at Fenway. It's 11-9 Boston.
No runs.
Sanders with a swing and a miss. He has walked twice, struck out, and grounded back to the pitcher tonight. He is 0 for 2. The Red Sox 3 outs away from grabbing a 1-0 World Series lead.
These closers are tough enough to handle when you get to see them over the course of a year. When you haven't seen them before, a guy like Keith Falk, he can flat out embarrass you.
Sanders swings and misses for strike 3, 1 away.
We have had 20 runs scored tonight combined by these two teams, but you take away the pestic pole or you just move it back a little bit. It's only 302 feet away from home plate. If it was back to 315, maybe even 310, 6 of the runs might not have scored tonight. Bellhorn hits it. Ortiz hooked it around it. Larry Walker hooked it around it.
Only 310 feet down there. It is the shortest right field then. Sorry, 302 down there. 310 to left. Short enough, but 302 to that pole. The shortest in Major League Baseball.
Most of the talk's about the Green Monster and why Fenway is such a good offensive ballpark. I don't think enough is said about that. I mean, it goes straight back, though. It's not 302 for very long. But it's been there just long enough tonight.
One down, the base is empty, and a 1-1 pitch. Drops over the inside corner. He checked his swing and a count 2-2 on Anderson. Boston ahead 11-9. They have out-hit St. Louis 13-10. The Red Sox have somehow to this point survived 4 errors to the Cardinals 1. Foul off the end of the bat. The 11 runs scored tonight for the Red Sox ties a franchise record for runs in a World Series game, but you have to go all the way back to 1903 when they had 11 against the Pirates in one game. They didn't even have Babe Ruth then. Here's the 3-2 pitch. Down the line on the fly, and that's going to drop in fair and then bounce out of play. So it will be a double for Marlon Anderson, and the Cardinals are not dead yet here in game one. A ground rule double by Marlon Anderson.
Anderson led off the 8th inning as a pinch hitter. Was not able to get on base then, but this has been Tony La Russa's most productive man off that bench. .333 as a pinch hitter with 3 home runs during the regular season. He gets it done again.
So here's Molina. His only at bat tonight so far, and he knocks it out of play to the right, not anywhere near the pesky pole. But isn't it something that 58 years after Johnny Pesky was said to have held the ball too long in the 1946 World Series, the pesky pole comes into play so vividly with Johnny in attendance, and it could well decide this game. Punch to right, headed to the pole again, but it sears off and into the crowd. 0-2 the count. Major League Baseball International special presentation of the 2004 World Series has been brought to you by MasterCard. There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard. It's a short shot down there, 3-0-2. Molina pops it up. Mankiewicz is there for the catch. That's out number 2. Are the Red Sox going to hang on to this lead for a change? La Russa hopes not, but Francona's team is 1 out away from grabbing the series advantage.
I think a big part of the reason they may grab it is the guy on the mound right now. You get to this point in the ball game. Tony La Russa did not get to his closer yet tonight. Terry Francona was able to do that, maybe a little bit sooner than what he would like to have done, but what a luxury to have a closer who's as durable as Keith Foulke is.
Roger Cedeno, the hitter. Nothing in 1 on him. Anderson at second. A tying run is in the batter's box. The Red Sox coming off a thrilling 7-game series win over the Yankees, as the Cardinals had over the Houston Astros. That's a strike, and it's 0-2.
Numbers, as we mentioned earlier, for Cedeno much better from the left side of the plate as opposed to the right side, where he had his at bat off of Alan Embry in that 8th inning.
The 0-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. And the Boston Red Sox have taken a 1-0 lead in the 2004 World Series. They win a wild one tonight by a final score of 11-9 over the St. Louis Cardinals. This lead holds up, and the Sox win by 2.
Die Major League Baseball